and just brought that self-belief on.
Did you feel the pressure, Arthur? Because even here at talkSPORT, you know what we're like. We jump on it, right? And we jump on it hard. Did that outside noise filter through at any point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, professional sportsmen, there's always some pressure.
The 1982 World Cup gave us maybe the biggest redemption story in football. But to truly appreciate the rise of Paolo Rossi, we also have to understand his fall. 4 years earlier, in 1978, a 21-year-old Rossi was the next big thing in Italian football. His poacher's instinct in front of goal earned him a reputation, and he was constantly surrounded. Despite that, Rossi scored 3 goals as Italy secured a 4th-place finish. Then, in 1980, Italy was rocked by one of the most famous match-fixing scandals in football history, Toto Nero. It started when a market trader in Rome approached a restaurant owner whose venue was popular with professional footballers. The plan was simple: run an illegal betting operation where the public placed bets, not knowing that the players who ate at the restaurant were getting a cut to deliver certain results. The house and the players would always win. And it was all being run out of a Roman eatery. When a whistleblower went to the police, though, Rossi was suspended from football for 3 years. He consistently denied being involved and eventually had his ban reduced to 2 years. That allowed him to join Juventus for the final 3 games of the 82 season and win Serie A. And in those 3 games, Italy manager Enzo Bezzo saw a spark. Rossi was included in the World Cup squad and then the starting 11. In the groups, he did nothing. No goals, no assists, and the Italian public was begging for him to be dropped. Bear in mind, he'd played the likes of Peru and Cameroon and OK, Argentina. By the way, spot the very young Diego Maradona. Then, out of nowhere, he got a hat-trick against Brazil, another 2 in the semi-finals, and the opener in the final. Not only did he lift the trophy, he won the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. It was maybe the biggest one-tournament turnaround the World Cup has ever seen. The whole story is so gloriously Italian, and considering he never played in a World Cup ever again, maybe it's one of football's greatest fairy tales.
Stand by for something very, very special. Stand by for a talkSPORT first. This is the first time ever talkSPORT has broadcast a show live from a Major League Baseball stadium. We're at the home of the Atlanta Braves. If you want to check us out on YouTube or on the talkSPORT YouTube channel, or on your connected TV as well, you can see the stadium in all its glory. Why are we here? Well, we're in Atlanta because this is the venue for England's World Cup semi-final against Argentina on Wednesday. But I don't know about you, I've not even recovered from what happened in Miami against Norway. So we'll look back on that, look forward to the Argentina game over the next 3 hours. We've got loads more to come as well. England on the home straight of this World Cup. talkSPORT scoring a home run in the ballpark. This is Kickoff.
After Mexico, England stare wide-eyed at potential glory. But their path towards the Final Four has to withstand the Viking invasion. Another ball through the penalty area is in. It's 1-0 Norway. Shelder up with an absolute stunner. England on the front foot here. Gordon, that's better. Bellingham taking it on. Bellingham, yes, 1-1. England out of nothing, back on level terms before half-time.
Jude Bellingham has saved us again. I mean, there's a lot of work for Thomas Tuchel to do.
Pickford comes out, punches it clear, comes back out for Ashley. Back through a crowd, headed over the bar. Morgan Rogers coming onto it, right footing. Good try, spilled by the goalkeeper, and bundled in. England lead. It is Jude Bellingham again. 2 minutes are up, and England are in the semi-finals of the World Cup.
Hi there, I'm Adrian Durham. England, in a World Cup semi-final. It's 2 World Cup semi-finals, 2 Euros finals in the last 10 years. It is a golden time to be an England fan. And some of these England fans who are out here were here at this venue less than a couple of weeks ago watching the Atlanta Braves baseball team. And by the way, what a venue. Check us out in the ballpark at the Atlanta Braves. It is a special scene behind us. These two guys, the former England captain Stuart Pearce and talkSPORT's legendary England commentator Jim Proudfoot, this is their home. They've been here before. You love this place, don't you?
We've taken in a fair bit of baseball, I've got to say. I think we've been to 5 different venues in the States. I think there's still one to come, maybe in New York at the Yankees. But this place was brilliant. We come in here, massive crowds in there, weren't there, Jim? And our hotel's connected to the ballpark, so fantastic.
Yeah, it was a crowd of around 35,000 or so. They didn't actually play that well. They were beaten by St. Louis the night that we came, but won the homestand. They won convincingly. The following night, we took in little bits of that game as well. But there's some things we've said on this trip before. Being in sporting cathedrals when there's no one in, when it's just people going about their business, so the ground staff are out there. It was fascinating this morning. They allowed, 40, 50 young local children in. They were doing hitting drills, they were doing running practice. It was great to see. So it is a community venue, as most sporting places are. But there's something about this. This is a good ballpark. I mean, I'm not a fan of domes, but proper. It's an old-fashioned stadium. It's brand new, old-fashioned stadium. It's only been up 10 years or so, but it's great, and we're very lucky to be here. Yeah,
grateful to the Braves for hosting us here at this ballpark. And you're absolutely bang on. It is new, but it does have that old feel, doesn't it? They've done it really well.
Yeah, they have done it really well, because it's not an identikit baseball stadium. Let's just build a 35,000 seat stadium. The whole facility around it, so it's effectively within a shopping and catering village. So there are 2 or 3 hotels. There are numerous restaurants. There's an escape room, a cinema, a golf place, loads of places that you can come to and make a day of going to the ball game. It's not just all about the 3 hours. And then when you get in here, it's obviously the usual stuff, concession stands all around. They do a really good light show. They've got a signature move, the Braves fans, where they effectively do like a karate chop, which is when they do it all in unison, 25,000 of them do it in unison at a pitcher who's playing for the opposition and struggling, and then they have the light show as well, where they make the pitch go all red. It is something to behold. They really do it well here, and listen, they're not bad at baseball either. They're winning the National League East by a couple of games at the moment. World Series champions back in 2021. It's a good club, this one.
He's not just a football commentator, Stuart. He's our weatherman on this World Cup. Now the baseball correspondent as well. No end to his talents.
No, definitely not. As I say, I almost feel under pressure now. Every time he says to me, we're going to the ballpark, I can't turn it down. I have to go to hold his hand and hold his hot dog.
Yeah. What a joy that is. That's the reason you go. And actually, you can just see the figurines. You might want to pick up Michael Harris II in the middle there, I think he is. And he was due to be joining us because he's the England fans' favourite. However, we could only get the figurine, because he's otherwise occupied.
I think we've got the Worcester as well coming on later.
Is that my dog?
Yeah, it looks like
it. Like dog.
Yeah, fantastic. So this is a Michael Harris bobblehead. He should be at the All-Star game in Philadelphia. He's not. It's a little bit controversial that he's found himself omitted. He was a Rookie of the Year. When was that? 2020, 2022, yeah. So he won the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year award, which is a very esteemed honour, as you can imagine. So he came into a side that just won the World Series. He played 140 games. His numbers were great. Better this time around. He's just had a little lull over the last few weeks, but his numbers are sensational. He's on course for hitting way more home runs than at any other stage in his career. But the most noticeable thing, though, he has predicted the result of England's last 2 games absolutely right. He said it would be 3-2 against Mexico, and he said it would be 2-1 the win against Norway. I don't know what he's going for here. You remember Colin the Octopus from 2006? He's got nothing on Michael Harris. Michael Harris can play outfield as centre field and hit 16 home runs before the All-Star break. Colin could never do that.
We've got a message into Michael to try and get his prediction for Wednesday night here in Atlanta, and I think he's going to be going to the game as well. We'll get more. We're going to hear from some of the prominent figures here at the Atlanta Braves between now and 10 o'clock your time. It's the afternoon here, of course, just gone 2 o'clock. We need to talk about football as well, because the World Cup is on and England are in yet another semi-final. When I just said it there, Stuart, 2 World Cup semi-finals and 2 Euros finals in 10 years. That, you know, let's just soak that up, because that is an absolute joy, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, I've been saying, well, we spoke in 2014 in Brazil, and I said, we spoke about the importance of building foundations for the England team to be successful. Building St George's Park, 2012, that was opened, I believe. And since that time, we have had a halcyon time, there's no doubt. At all age groups, men and women. The women have been absolutely magnificent over this period of time. The younger age groups have been successful at 17s, 19s, 20s. It's been quite incredible. The senior team, senior men's, obviously getting to semi-finals as we are. We're just waiting for that big prize, and it will come. There is no doubt in my mind it will come. It's just a building process, but so many good things are in place now.
Yeah, you're right. Affecting different teams and winning teams as well. You're right about the England's women won the last 2 European Championships, and it was Serena Wiegmann who coined that phrase at the last Euros in Switzerland last summer, proper England. And I actually believe the Mexico victory and the win against Norway in Miami was about proper England. It was about that commitment, the spirit. And Thomas Tuchel, it's a word we're going to talk about a little bit later on, the mentality of this England side that are at this World Cup. Absolutely phenomenal.
It certainly is. As I say, sometimes it's not just ability that gets over the line. Quite often that's not the case in certain games on your journey into a tournament, and the latter stages especially. You've got to draw on something that it's a commodity that you can't put your finger on, but when the going's tough and you're into extra time and you're physically on your knees, you find a little bit more, champions do.
Yeah, and we have somebody who personifies that, and that's Jude Bellingham, isn't it, Jimmy? He's just been, I say it again, I keep saying it after every game, I think he is the player of the tournament. It's open for debate, of course, and other people have different opinions, but what he's bringing to this England side is winning mentality and goals in abundance.
So I think this is a different Jude here to the ones that we've seen at previous tournaments, and I think a lot of that is down to a newfound level of maturity. That, you know, he's still only just turned 23. You can't expect him to play like a 28 or 29-year-old in tournaments when he's 19 or 21. But I think at 23, he's really shown that he has that class and a different edge to his game, and he can cope with the responsibility, knowing how good he is, how important he is to this England team, and being able to drive that forward. You've only got, for illustration, to look at his goal-scoring record for England before and after this tournament. He's got 6 goals in 6 games here. He only scored 6 goals in 48 games for England before this World Cup started. And when you're a midfielder and you've scored 7 World Cup goals and you've only played 12 World Cup ties in your career, half of which were as a teenager, I mean, that is an extraordinary statistic. We need Jude to continue to hit the heights that he's already hit, but when he's in a confident mood, and I think personally think he's been managed very well by Thomas Tuchel, where 6 months ago it wasn't guaranteed seemingly that he was going to be a starter in this team at all, but now he is, and maybe he's realised what is on the line, and he has been able to step up to the challenge quite magnificently.
He has, and what I loved about Thomas Tuchel's post-match press conference after the Norway win, he was asked by a foreign journalist about relying on Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, and he kind of joked saying, yeah, just stick them on the pitch and we're going to be okay. What he then went on to say was he doesn't have a problem with either of them being the match winners. If they're the decisive players, he hasn't got a problem with that. And I'm here for that, Stuart, because if Jude Bellingham scores the winner in the semi-final and the winner in the final, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why there's this sort of trying to put a diversion between them and the rest of the team. You know, there's always a superstar come out of every game. Sometimes it might be in Mexico City, the contribution that Dan Burn had. you know, when he come off the pitch. It was only a relatively small one in the scheme of a whole game as such. But you have to draw on everybody, and from the training pitch right onto the match pitch. And at the moment, Jude Bellingham's having a wonderful time in an England shirt, and I'm like you, long may that continue. Harry Kane, we've relied on him. We've relied on him to score a goal. That's his job in the team, to score goals. Like we rely on the goalkeeper to make great saves against Mexico. That's his job. They all pitch in, and that's the nature of the word team.
Yeah, so they've scored 12 of the 13 England goals between them. So what? It really doesn't matter. It's not the World Cup's going to be even better if Nico O'Reilly scores the winning goal or it comes off John Stones' thigh. It doesn't matter. All that matters is getting over the line and winning the World Cup. And if Harry and Jude score another 2 or 3 goals each, there's every chance that will happen. So what?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Just winning the World Cup will be everything to England fans. We know that. Listen, it's kick-off on talkSPORT live from the Atlanta Braves ballpark. What a venue, what a sight this is. If you can get onto YouTube, you can catch us live on the talkSPORT YouTube channel and on your connected TV as well. You can see what's going on. You can also learn more about the Atlanta Braves if you head to braves.com. They've got a game here against the Texas Rangers on Friday night.
After a game, positivity, and you throw that negative comment about what a manager says, but you haven't told Bellingham everything positive that the manager said.
Sorry, just being on the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
So you're a player, you've come off and maybe had negativity after a win, but that is his job.
Yeah.
That's him. That's the guy, the fella doing his job, Adrian Clark.
Well, is that a problem in the media then?
But it's not. It's just your manager's just said this. What do you make about that, Jude?
Yeah, but I still think like that might be his job, but then like when people moan, and there's been a lot of moaning on social media by a lot of the public, we've just got through to a semi-final. We should be positive, and people are creating a beef between our best player and the manager.
Tuchel created the beef. No, put it out there
first. But Tuchel's not called out any player. He said what he thought about the game, which was honest. No problem. I totally agree with what he says. We can be a lot better. But when a player finishes a game, he's exhausted. He's done 110 minutes in that heat. He's shattered. He's carried his team through. He scored 2 goals. The last thing he wants to hear for the first question is, the manager said that's not good enough. Why do you say, like, okay, Jude Bellingham, what was that feeling like? Look at the fans behind you. How positive. Why can't we be positive in the media?
Because you can see that. You can quite clearly see there's a lot of positivity around you, Gabby.
What do you mean? Yeah, but that's the first question you want to ask your man. You don't want to be asked a negative question when you're
trying to win the World Cup.
Exactly.
Not just get to a semi-final.
No one said you're not
You've got through the quarterfinals. It wasn't your best performance.
Yeah.
It's nothing to get really overly excited about.
I think it is. I think it 100% is, because this World Cup, France are the only team that have been outstanding. Argentina, like I said, we've got through every round being poor. Then after the game, being in their media, we got to do. That's a conversation for another day. I just think we look for problems. There shouldn't be any problem, shouldn't be any big talk today about, there's beef, they don't get on. When I watch him on the pitch, he looks like he's listening to his manager. I don't see a beef there.
Bellingham is absolutely generational. The kid is the greatest player to ever play for England. He's better than Rooney. He's better than all of them.
Spilled by the goalkeeper and bundled in. England lead. It is Jude Bellingham again. They've been rotten for 92 minutes in Miami, but he has taken a sad song and made it a whole lot better.
Remember when Birmingham City retired off Jude Bellingham's shirt after about 20 games and we all laughed at them? I think we now begin to understand what they had seen. Listen, England fans thinking about winning a World Cup, it just can't happen. But here we are in a semi-final. It's mainly thanks to Jude Bellingham. There has been a bit of a story going on about the post-match interviews involving Tuchel and Bellingham. So let's get stuck into that. Really want to hear the guys' views on that. After the game, ITV's Gabriel Clark spoke to Thomas Tuchel and then spoke to Jude Bellingham. Let's take a listen to what was said.
The result is fantastic. We're in the last four. It's amazing, but not happy with the performance.
In what sense?
In every sense. Because, again, the commitment is there, but we made life very, very difficult for us in the way we played, how we played. Sloppy, a lot of technical mistakes, not fast enough, not repetitive enough. We were lucky today.
Was that the occasion, getting to the players?
I don't know, it's just...
mentality thing?
Oh, nothing. Oh, it's no mentality.
Well, if you're not happy with the players...
This is pure mentality. How can you ask about mentality now? This is pure mentality. It's not about mentality.
No, I mean when the players had the problem, was that the mentality? What was it?
There's no mentality problem. This is pure mentality. This is pure mentality. You can bottle it up and sell it.
Absolutely.
This is, yeah, so where's the problem for mentality? It's the quality of our games. That's it.
The manager's actually not very happy. He said he was disappointed with the performance. There could have been more in many different ways.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, I think he obviously believes there could be more from the team.
Yeah, it's difficult out there. It's difficult. It's a tough shift. All the players are putting a very tough shift. So my thoughts and appreciation goes to the players who was out there who put in a great shift yet again.
There you go, Jude Bellingham defending his players, whatever in Thomas Tuchel off, but was it a problem with the questions asked, or has Jude Bellingham got a problem? Has Thomas Tuchel got a problem? Just give you a little flavour of what's been said on talkSPORT, on the How to Win the World Cup podcast from talkSPORT. Manu Petit, a World Cup winner, said that both Tuchel and Jude should have said these things privately. Tuchel should have called a meeting and with the players and said all of this to them privately rather than being so honest. And Flex on the Inside England podcast from talkSPORT said the phrasing of the question is engineering a rift between manager and player. On the same podcast, Rory Jennings said everyone has gone soft. Nobody has said anything wrong. Well, worth a listen, actually, the Inside England podcast. Rory said something pretty amazing about Jude Bellingham. You could check that out. Stuart Pearce, what did you make of those post-match interviews? Has anybody done anything wrong here?
I've got a couple of ways that come in at this. I was asked for my opinion on Jude's statement, that what he said. And I've given an opinion on that, suggesting I think he was a bit out of order saying what he did. When I've subsequently heard both sides of the interviews, I think both men were right. I get fed up with managers coming out, both at club and country level, and painting a picture of a game that I haven't actually watched. You know, I've seen it, but they're not talking about the same game I saw. I would always back managers and players to come out and say, was my thoughts. Tuchel's come out and been really forthright about what he's seen, and I find that brilliantly refreshing. I would have that all day long. I don't think you should go and leave it in the locker room if you don't want to. Shove it down the camera and let people judge for themselves. They've seen the same game. We're all passionate about England winning. We've got a manager there that's come out and said, you know what, we didn't play particularly well, but our mentality is that good at the moment, it's getting us over the line. And it's frustrating him that they've not delivered probably what he's seen on the training pitch from them and their individual ability collectively more regularly. That's one thing, so I applaud him for that. And when subsequently I hear the question and how it was phased to Jude Bellingham, I think he's not had the whole question to actually deal with. You know, But I think he's dealt with it quite well, to be fair to him, and credit to him. He's come out there and said, you know what, I've just had a couple of hours of football out there, I'm bloody tired, and I've just got my country to a major World Cup semi-final, and so have the rest of the boys, so we've done something right. And I'm thinking, fair play to your son, you know, you're 23 years old, it can be a little bit niggly, maybe, if you want to portray it that way. I'd rather back both individuals and say, let's get behind the team on Wednesday.
I still think that if Jude had heard the entirety of the first interview, rather than a very brief synopsis of it, a very brief synopsis of most of it, then he would have given a completely different answer, and he might have been more inclined to give it a straight bat. He hadn't heard that. He's, as you say, he's just put himself in 40 degrees through 120 minutes and will be physically and emotionally shot at that stage. And he then, his first commitment is to give an instant interview and his reaction. So I understand exactly where Jude was coming from, but I maintain that had he heard exactly what Thomas Tuchel had to say and how he'd phrased it, he would have given a completely different answer to it. I'm with Stu, though. You can't, after a performance like that, the performance wasn't good. I was going to say it wasn't good enough. It was good enough because England got the job done. And listen, we'll take another 2 scruffy victories from here over the course of the next week. That'll do very nicely, thank you. It doesn't matter how they happen. And you probably, when you're in the quarterfinals, you're already in that domain. Thomas will be frustrated because he knows there's more to come. He would have looked at that performance and thought, well, if we play like that on Wednesday, we probably aren't going to win. So there will have been elements of frustration, and he will also be looking at the bigger picture that he's got to try and drive his players on. He comes out and gives an anodyne answer, oh yeah, that was great. Everyone goes, well, it really wasn't, and then you don't believe a word he says. So some managers will, and frequently do, adopt that tactic, and they will keep everything behind closed doors. Everything's nicey in front of the camera. There are some who, you know, I think fans really respect their opinions when they come out and tell it as it is and can give a synopsis of the game which is broadly in line with what fans see. Then it matters more. Because otherwise, when he comes out and he says, oh, everything is great, you go, yeah, but is it really? Because you said that last time and we know that it wasn't. You've worked in the media for multiple years. What would you prefer from the people in front of the camera?
The people you're interviewing after the game. I think post-match is a very specific thing, okay? It's a very difficult thing. And I think if you are conducting a post-match interview, I think you have to quote correctly if you're going to quote. If you can't quote correctly, then don't do it. So I would rather the question to Jude Bellingham had involved things that Thomas Tuchel had actually said, that yes, he did say he wasn't happy with the performance, but he also, and he said, I'm not happy with the performance in every sense. He actually used those words, but he also stressed the win was all about mentality. In fact, he really bristled when the mentality was questioned. So I thought that needed putting to Jude Bellingham as well. So the context of it was really important, I felt, and didn't get that across in the question to Jude Bellingham, and that's why Jude Bellingham reacted in the way he did. I think I want honesty, you're right, in those post-match interviews. I want them to be honest and reflect the views of the fans, or kind of put into an understanding, give us an insight into why the fans feel underwhelmed by a performance or feel ecstatic about a performance. And you need players and managers to help us as fans understand that. So I want the honesty, yeah.
I honestly, listening to Thomas Tuchel, I would have thought he'd have said exactly the same words in the changing room as he delivered then to that camera. That's the impression I have. I don't think he'd have gone in there and say, well done lads, you were brilliant today. So I think we've got, you know, there was this clamour when at half-time against Croatia, you know, oh, Thomas Tuchel give a brilliant half-time rallying call, yeah, and whatever, and we were like, oh, tell us what happened, tell us what he said, is what people are saying. You're desperate to, we're all desperate to find out what he said, what were those magical words that ignited the team. I think we saw exactly what he said to his players in the dressing room after the Norway game. Hey, we were lucky here, we didn't play well, and we got to get a lot better. You can't watch Thomas Tuchel at every hydration break and with a face of thunder going in at half-time and after 90 minutes, you can't watch that and then expect him to come out and say, oh, that was great. Because that is so completely at odds with how you know he is thinking. He hasn't thrown any individual under the bus at any stage. He's just talked about the collective, we weren't good enough
in every department, which he has then very quickly changed to talk about the spirit and the mentality. But I think it was a great interview. And by the way, just for the record, I think doing a good post-match interview is the hardest part of our job. To be able to, when emotions are raw, to develop the trust with people, to elicit responses that aren't just, yes, that's great, I'm looking forward to the semi-final. I think that is such a tough job. And Gabriel, if he was to do those same interviews, I don't know, I've not spoken to him about it. I think he's the best at what he does. He might reframe them and do them differently, but I have to say I think it is a near impossible job to get right, that one.
Yeah, I agree with that, and you've got to ask about difficult things that maybe even managers and players don't even want to talk about. I just felt he could have qualified he can ask about, ask Jude Bellingham about Thomas Tuchel being unhappy with the performance, but he's got to qualify it by saying that Tuchel appreciated the commitment and the mentality. Just one other little thing on it, and that is about the luck, because Thomas Tuchel said it was lucky in that post-match. We just heard him say that. In the press conference, he specified there were lucky moments for England, like Norway not going 2-0 up when they had a great chance to go 2-0 up. The goal that was disallowed was a little bit of a lucky moment. So he wasn't saying overall for the 120 minutes it was all about luck. He was saying England benefited from lucky moments, and then went on to say that if you're going to win a World Cup, you will get some lucky moments along the way. So what he said all made sense, but I think in that moment it was pitted as Bellingham versus Tuchel, and that's I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy for England, because those two can get closer from it. I think it's actually going to be a positive as far as England are concerned, but we'll wait and see. I don't see it being a problem. It feels to me like the players all really love Thomas Tuchel. You could see that from the John Stones shoulder injury celebration kind of thing. It's kickoff on talkSPORT. We're at the home of the Atlanta Braves. What's a venue behind me? It's the All-Star break in baseball. Next up, we'll discuss the new faces at Manchester United after what has been a big 48 hours for them in the transfer market.
Put it to him, the fans are loving it, you guys are in the semi-final.
But he talked about the manager specifically, and we're criticising or observing or opining on what Jude Bellingham's response to his manager, not what the fans say.
Was Tuchel unhappy with the performance?
Yeah, so he should be.
Yeah, that's what Gabriel put to Jude.
But it also talked...
That's a fair question to put to Jude,
why didn't he put the balance?
But is that not a fair question to put to Bellingham?
At the same time as putting balance in the conversation. If you're trying to
agree to disagree,
it's dishonest. It's absolutely fundamentally
What's dishonest about it?
Because you're not presenting the full picture. You are taking what the manager's worst
Tuchel
things.
Said his bit, and Jude said his bit.
But that is why I qualify things by sitting with you and peers, and I'm delighted to say that whilst I'm in the media, I'm not a creation of it. I didn't build my career around the media.
All that again.
Well, it's true.
That again.
It's true.
I've never heard anything like that.
No, because you wouldn't, because you're a journalist. Your entire life has been journalism. What you do is you look at it and go, how can we get
throat about that as well? No, we don't.
But
and that's where you're wrong. No one in the media, when you get to the level of Gabriel Clark, you're not in a mix zone, or you're not in a post-match situation going, oh, I've got him. I've got him. You do not get it.
I watch you guys.
You do not get it.
I watch you do it. I watch you do it. I watch peers do it. I watch you all do it. I've been on the receiving end.
You think this is a gotcha moment?
Yeah, you guys love it.
How wrong can you be?
You guys can't get more excited.
And have you never done a gotcha moment?
No, I have a strong... Well, like what?
In your various media...
No, when I have a robust conversation with somebody about opinions on something,
even though
I don't try and trip them up.
You're in the media or part of it or not part of it, or when you're in or out.
No, I try to make them accountable, give them a rounded perspective. So if I confront somebody with an argument, it's rounded so they can deal with all aspects of it. Because I want to win the argument on facts, on merit,
so really,
not by creating...
There's nobody else like you.
I don't think so, yeah. Absolutely right.
Love it!
Anybody else under Premier League Football Club?
Love it.
No.
No, that's true. And I'll give you that.
There you go.
And that is true, Simon. And
Anyone
I will
else
say
about
this.
17 businesses?
You are absolutely right. When it comes
I can go on.
We all know that in history, Pele's a GOAT. He's won the World Cup 3 times, the only man to have done so. But let me tell you about the one he didn't win, and that made him quit World Cups for good. Ahead of the 1966 World Cup in England, Brazil were favourites again. They won in both 58 and 62, meaning a historic three-peat was on. But their opponents all had plans to stop Pele. Bulgaria set a trend in the first group game. The instruction? Take Brazil's main man out of the game. Pele came away so battered and bruised he couldn't even take part in Brazil's next match against Hungary, which they lost. He returned for the next one against Portugal, but they channeled their inner Bulgaria. This is one of numerous brutal challenges throughout the 90s. Remember, this was pre-substitution, so Pele had to hobble on before being carried off at the end. It's even tough to look at now. Brazil lost and were out in the group stage. Speaking years later, Pele still had sore memories. At the time, he said he'd never play at the World Cup again. FIFA responded by introducing subs and red and yellow cards. Pele did come back in 1970.
Well, welcome back to Atlanta. We're at the home of the Braves, and what a home as well. In fact, let's just get straight into this, because we have with us Greg Myers, who's the Vice President of Marketing and Innovation at the Atlanta Braves. Greg, thank you for joining us. Thank you for having us. What a venue.
Hey, thank you for being here. Welcome, guys. This is awesome. As we were just talking about, we've had a lot of fun over the past couple of weeks with the Three Lions and your fans, and really honored to have you guys here today.
I want to know, so this is a big question. Do you have an office here with a view of the ballpark?
So not a view of the ballpark. Our offices overlook the Battery. A lot of the executives have their offices overlooking the ballpark, so maybe hopefully someday I will. But no, I'm overlooking the Battery right now.
And what a place to work, though. It's sensational, isn't it? We were just saying earlier that it's a new building, but actually looks like an old school baseball park, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was very intentional. You know, going all the way back to the mid-'90s, when Camden Yards, which is where the Baltimore Orioles play, when they built their new stadium, it was very much an ode to the classic ballparks of, you know, the early 1900s, and so since that was built, a lot of pretty much every ballpark that's been built since then has been inspired by those sort of throwback elements. And so for us, you know, this is our third ballpark here in Atlanta, but it's the first one that's been built specifically for baseball. So our first stadium was Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. That was built in 1966. That was built as a multi-use facility to attract both a baseball and a football team. And obviously it worked. We moved from Milwaukee, and then the Falcons started that year as well. So that was our first stadium. Our second stadium, which was called Turner Field, was actually the stadium that was used for opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, and track and field for the '96 Olympics here. And so after the Olympics, it was retrofitted to fit a baseball field. So this is the first stadium we've been in Atlanta where it was built specifically with baseball in mind. So, you know, you can tell by just the unique sort of curvature and dimensions. So it definitely has that classic ballpark feel.
It's a thing of beauty, there's no doubt about it. And you mentioned the Battery there, which is kind of the area we're in, where there's shops and restaurants and bars and a big hotel that we're staying in next door. And so there's something for everybody. And the England fans who came here, I think they wowed you a little bit.
That's an understatement. That was one of the coolest nights that myself and a lot of my coworkers have had here. You know, just seeing the energy and the passion that they brought, and then obviously everything that happened with Michael Harris II. You know, that night and after that night, and you know, coming out of that night was just miraculous.
Yeah, how did that really come about? So Michael Harris II is one of your best players. He's having a great season. He was Rookie of the Year 4 years ago. Should be in the All-Star, but that
should be, yes.
Yeah. Are you angry about that?
However, the bright side to that is, with the All-Star game being tomorrow in Philadelphia, if he was in the All-Star game, he would have to hustle back here to make it back to the match on Wednesday. So there is, I guess, maybe looking at the bright side of that.
You're speaking like a real Braves fan there. There's no doubt. Keep him fresh for us. That's what we need. Because you got a game Friday, haven't you? So we'll talk about that in a bit. But how did that connection between Michael Harris II and the England fans come about?
Yeah. So maybe even before that, going back a little ways, just in terms of how all of the fans were actually here at the game. So going all the way back to the beginning of last season, knowing that the World Cup was coming, we created relationships with all the consul generals here in Atlanta. And we invited them out to games just to, introduce ourselves, and the chance that, if their country was in Atlanta for the World Cup, we wanted to be a place where they could host events or come out to games. One of the connections we made was Consul General Rachel Galloway. And so, we just stayed in touch with her. We were disappointed, candidly, when group play schedules came out and England wasn't going to be here, but we still kept those lines of communication open. And when it was increasingly looking like they were going to be here in the knockout stage, we reignited those relationships and got connected to Ashley Brown from the Free Lions. And through him, we built a special discount ticket pack for all of the England supporters and worked with him and his organization to get that link out. And so, that's where a lot of the tickets for that night were sold to. And it just so happened that a majority of the tickets were out here in the outfield near center field. And, much like you guys and your fans do in matches, we're just singing and chanting and having a great time. And they obviously noticed our center fielder, Michael Harris II, so they started working his name into chants. And the coolest thing that happened is our television reporter was actually, during the game, was interviewing some of the supporters while they're chanting and singing, and a fly ball was hit to Michael, and he ran it down and caught it. And the place just went nuts. And from there, he then clearly noticed them. So in between outs, he would turn around and engage with them and, throw balls up to them, and really just started this super cool, relationship that was happening during the game. After the game, he was talking to one of his family members outside the dugout and noticed that a majority of the supporters were still here. So he came out to the outfield and started talking to them, did a jersey and hat swap. He couldn't give away his jersey, and took pictures and selfies, and from there just endeared himself to the fans, and the rest is history.
How surreal was it that night where England had won that game against Congo? They came in here. We weren't at that game. We'd been the night before, and we were staying in the hotel. By the time we got back, we were sort of 3 or 4 innings in, but we could hear everything that was going on. So you could hear the songs of the England fans. We could see them from our hotel room doing the Poznan, which was one of the most surreal things I've ever seen in a ballpark. How surreal was it for the players in an environment where probably as a baseball player you can predict the next song that's going to come up. You know what's going to happen depending on the state of the game, so you know how the crowd are going to react. They couldn't possibly have predicted how England fans were going to react that night. How did they go with it? What did they say about it afterwards?
They loved it because, again, it brought a energy to the ballpark that we've never had. And even, we've hosted postseason games here, we've hosted World Series games here, and that atmosphere was the most electric atmosphere I've ever been a part of. I mean, literally the stands were shaking, but the energy and just the presence that the supporters brought that night was just vastly different because of the singing and the chants, and something that you don't see in baseball, and not just here, anywhere. And so that was what was really cool, and why really all the players noticed, because it was different. And it was cool to kind of have this sort of soundtrack throughout the entire game going on.
So how do you build on that? If that was something that the players loved, how do you go about trying to replicate that experience for them for an MLB market?
It's a great question. There's a fine line between enabling something and forcing something. So, in order, that specific example, in order to create something more long-lasting like that, the first step would be identifying consistent sections in the ballpark that we could sell tickets to that would create this type of atmosphere. Something that we're already thinking about. We're looking at some of our undersold sections and saying, hey, if next year we can turn this into a section where, you know, we're encouraging these types of, you know, chants and songs, and but on the flip side of that, we don't want to force it. It's not like, here, buy a ticket and here's your script and you have to do this with 2 outs in the second inning, because then I think that kind of just loses the spontaneity of it. So it's a balancing act, trying to enable it, but also not trying to force it.
Greg, we're going to have to leave it there. It's, we'll tell you, I mean, he's been all nice to you, but he's a Rays fan, so...
You tell me this now?
Exactly. First thing he did when he set foot on USA's soil, getting here for this World Cup, was buy a Rays cap, wasn't it? Because we flew into Tampa.
Yeah,
I've done you here, haven't I?
Flew into Tampa. My old one was Taddy. It kind of makes it better if you're buying a Tampa cap in Tampa.
Oh, you have
somehow. A Tampa Bay cap in Tampa, I should say. I'll get my hand slapped for that. But it's been fantastic. I mean, we've taken in 5 games. We've seen 10 different teams over here. It's been brilliant, and it's been a very special part, I think, of our trip. I think Stu would agree with this, that just to be able to take a break away from football and see the high quality action and the level of performance is just something else. It's been brilliant, and your hospitality has been wonderful, so thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. It's been a blast on our end. You know, both having obviously you guys, but the other countries that have come through and you know, played here at Atlanta Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and then had fans come out to the game. It's been the pleasure of a lifetime welcoming everyone. So best of luck on Wednesday. You've got an entire Atlanta Braves organization pulling for you guys. So
if we could get you tickets, we would, but we can't. Greg, thank you very much. You can find out more about the Braves at braves.com. The Atlanta, they've become they're your team as well, Stuart Pearce.
We've got to adopt them.
Absolutely,
we've got to adopt them. We've got no choice.
Coming here, so they're my team. Absolutely, Greg. Thank you very much. This is talkSPORT live at the home of the Atlanta Braves.
They get into this weird situation where they forget what happened before. So all the big games, they played Havertz, right? Mm-hmm. Gyökeres, who you bought in at the start of the season, was going to be, for all the big games, in all the big games, he was on the bench. Yeah. Facts, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So the manager doesn't trust him. That's not our opinion, that's just objectively looking at it. Havertz gets injured quite a lot, unfortunately. Gary Jesus is not the same since he's come back from his injury. So if you're now telling me that you can get through this season again and everybody else is going to be as poor as they were last year, I think you're just forgetting the fact that you lot were all losing your marbles around the Man City loss. And it was, we need a proper striker. Arteta don't know what he's doing again. You win the league, it's great, we're going to win it.
But you know, what I've always said to you, I always said to him, though, Gyökeres wasn't bought in for the big games, didn't I? I said that to you. We bought Gyökeres in for the game.
No, I get
listen,
explain.
I want to hear the year before, Arsenal, it weren't the record against Man City's, the Liverpool. It weren't that cost us the league. It was we couldn't beat Fulham, couldn't beat West Ham, couldn't beat them lesser clubs. Gyökeres coming. I mean, he said it. Right, it's one of them. Gyökeres this season though. Gyökeres this season scored against the Fulhams and West Ham, so we didn't have a problem getting past those teams, which is why then we went on to win the league.
Okay, I think you won the league because you played very pragmatic football. I'm not actually allowed to say the type of football that people are calling it on air, but you played a certain type of football.
Would you play that type of football to win the league?
No.
What?
What are you talking? Of course you would.
Honestly.
If I was a footballer.
No, it's just like...
You're my team.
Yeah.
No, I'll be happy like you lot. I'll be exactly... You get me? I'll be happy. Of course I will.
But would you like to see Spurs play that way to win?
Brendan Johnson scored with like his knee or something and we won the trophy. I'm happy. I don't care, bro. However it gets done, I'm happy. I don't really care. But what I'm saying is, you can't like gloat about it and say, we don't need a 9. That's crazy. You do need a 9, respectfully. What are you talking about, bro? If you sold Osimhen and Havertz right now, you could... Osimhen. If you bought Osimhen and sold Gyökeres and Havertz right now, you'd be great. You'd be fine. You could buy Barcola. Barcola and Osimhen changes their team, bro. Surely.
Do you know what? I'm happy with what we got.
Oh, you're a liar. That's a lie. You're a liar. That is a lie.
I'm happy with
that.
It's kickoff on talkSPORT live from the home of the Atlanta Braves. I can tell you the weather's coming in. We might have to deal with that in just a moment. You might have heard some thunder a few minutes ago live on air as well. Tell you what we'll do. We'll head to New York because talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook is there. I believe, Alex Crook, you're outside the Flatiron Building, the famous and unique building in the middle of New York. What are you doing there?
Yeah, first time I've visited it, actually, Adrian, and you can probably see it over my left shoulder. I've got to say, it's quite a building. You use the word unique, certainly unlike any other building that I've ever come across. No danger of any thunderstorms here in New York. Blue skies overhead, really hot and humid. Not your kind of weather at all, Adrian.
Flatiron Building, because it basically looks like an iron. It's right on the corner. Incredibly narrow desk space in that ultimate corner of the building. But let's talk about transfers, because Manchester United have been very busy, right?
Yeah, I woke up to this news this morning. Not a name that had really been on my radar to this point, but Youri Tielemans on his way from Aston Villa to Manchester United. Expected, we understand, at talkSPORT to undergo a medical later this week. He's got a release clause in his Villa contract of around about £35 million. I was on air with Troy Deeney on the Drive show earlier, and he's not entirely convinced by the signing. Maybe he doesn't feel that Tielemans has the mobility that Manchester United need, but I think for £35 million, this is quite a clever deal. A player who's proven in the Premier League, had a decent World Cup actually, helping Belgium to the quarter-finals before that untimely defeat to Spain when his new teammate United, Sonny Lemons, made that big error right at the end of proceedings. I think this is a good signing, and it's coupled with Andre Santos, who has now officially been unveiled as a Manchester United player. He's going to take the number 17 jersey. That's a £50 million deal. So what it effectively means is they walked away from paying £85 million for Mateus Fernandes when he left West Ham for Tottenham. For the same money, they've got two midfielders, and they may yet add a third. At the moment, the deal for Ederson at Atalanta has stalled. They've got concerns over a knee injury. They may revisit it at a lower price later in the window, but from what I'm told, they are still looking to add one more body in midfield.
I just want to ask Stuart Pearce about this. Youri Tielemans to Manchester United. Sounds good for Man United, but sounds terrible for Aston Villa.
Well, if there's a clause in the contract, there's not a great deal you can do about it. But as I say, I was interested to know, where does he think that he's going to fit into that midfield with Fernandes and, I take it, Kobe Mainoo as well?
Well, that would be a concern, Stuart. I think that was the point that Troy was making, because I think Kobe is a terrific player. I think it's really disappointing from his perspective. You can see the frustration that he's not played a single minute yet for England at this World Cup, bearing in mind what an impact he had at the Euros 2 years ago. But he isn't the most mobile of players, so I'm not completely sure that dynamic of Kobe Mainoo alongside Tielemans would be a successful one.
Interesting. Are we expecting anything else? I hear Luca Digne, who's out here with France in the semi-finals, on his way to Paris Saint-Germain. I've seen that around a lot. So is that happening?
Yeah, not a great day if you're an Aston Villa fan, because his release clause is even lower. We're told at talkSPORT less than £10 million for Luca Digne, who again played a big role in Villa winning that European trophy last season, qualifying via the Premier League for the Champions League, and has pretty much been France's first choice left back over here. He's off to Paris Saint-Germain, terms verbally agreed. So that's two big players, isn't it, that Aston Villa need to replace. We know they're going to bring in, hopefully, Yohan Manzambi, hopefully from their perspective, because, of course, he was going to go to Newcastle and pulled out of that deal at the 11th hour, so Villa will want to get that one over the line. But it's shaping up to be a tough summer for Unai Emery. We don't know yet what's going to happen with Morgan Rogers. I still think there's every chance that he ends up an Arsenal player.
And Crookie, talk of the former Brighton defender Pervis Estupiñán maybe going in to replace Digne at Aston Villa. Is that one that you can see going through? And what's been the reaction of the Villa fans to Tielemans' release clause being as low as £35 million? I was staggered when I read that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that deal probably will happen. There's a willingness on Estupiñán's part to get back to the Premier League. I think the fee there would be about €20 million, so double there or thereabouts what they're going to get for Luca Digne, but someone who knows the division. Yeah, I think Villa fans are frustrated, but they've had these frustrations in the past where they've had to sell players. It was John Duran, wasn't it, who went for big money to try and balance the books in terms of PSR. I think they always knew this was coming. I guess they might be hoping that by selling Digne and Tielemans, it might help keep hold of Morgan Rogers, but I'm not sure that the money they're getting is necessarily going to be enough to do that.
Let's talk about England then with this semi-final coming up, but I want your reaction, Alex, because you've done plenty of post-match interviews in your time, to the big fuss about the ITV interviews with Thomas Tuchel and Jude Bellingham.
Yeah, I think it's much ado about nothing really, Adrian. I've seen a bit of a social media pile-on for Gabriel Clark, which is totally unfair in my opinion. I think he's one of the best in the business. He's been doing those post-match interviews for a long time now. He's not afraid to ask the hard-hitting questions. It's a small minority on social media who feel the need to attack everybody, really. I don't know if it's a jealousy element. I thought Thomas Tuchel, with his answer, was fair. I was in amongst the England fans behind the goal. They weren't happy with the performance. It was a lot tighter and tenser than maybe it should have been. So Tuchel calling his players out, I don't think is a bad thing. And actually, I don't mind Jude Bellingham's response either. They're clearly not best friends. You know, Thomas Tuchel isn't going to be best man at Jude Bellingham's wedding anytime soon. He's certainly not top of his Christmas card list. But do they need to be best friends? They're both winners. They're both majorly competitive. And if England are going to win this World Cup, Tuchel is obviously going to play a massive part because he's an elite manager, and Bellingham is going to be the driving force, arguably, alongside Mbappe and Elise, player of the tournament so far.
And what you're thinking in terms of winning that World Cup, are you starting to believe that England can do it? They can certainly find ways to win, can't they?
Yeah, they can, because I still don't think we've seen the best of England at this tournament, and here we are in a semi-final. Obviously, you've got the Lionel Messi factor, which is quite petrifying. Apart from that, I'm not sure there's much in this Argentinian side to concern us. Defensively, they're vulnerable. They showed that against Cape Verde and obviously Egypt when they were very fortunate to sneak over the line. I'm confident. I think man for man, if England play their best game and Argentina play their best game, England will win. I'm not confident that we'll beat France in the final, unfortunately. I thought they were the standout team before we got here, and I've seen nothing to change my mind on that.
OK, Alex, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Alex Crook, Chief Football Correspondent for talkSPORT, outside the Flatiron Building in New York. We're here at the home of the Atlanta Braves on talkSPORT as we build up to England against Argentina this Wednesday. You can learn more about this club, the Atlanta Braves, at braves.com.
Go to Ben. He's Arsenal fan. All right, Ben.
Benny boy.
How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, Ben. We've got to do this quarter-final 11. Let's get it going. Come on.
All right. I've got the Spanish flamenco dance on the wing. Like around defence. Their foot tapping or dazzle their defence and send them sideways.
Yeah, the old flamenco dance.
And yeah.
Dance
with a little maverick on the wing. Little maverick on the wing.
Yeah, like a flamenco dance.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Is it flamenco or is it what is it? Flamenco.
Madame might wait for you.
The flamenco.
Yeah.
Flamenco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know you're iconic now, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually iconic.
Ben appears every single night at the sports bar.
Every night.
Doesn't he?
Without foul.
Yeah. Yeah. Been over a year.
It's been a year. All right, look, the flamenco dancer on the wing.
Yeah.
Okay, dancing about. Bit of maverick in there. All right, let's go to Dave. He's a Sunderland fan. Dave?
All right, Dave-o.
Hello, boys. How you doing?
I'm all right, Dave. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm getting in early with a representative from England who I think can be our captain.
Okay.
And it's St. George himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a leader, warrior. He's up for a battle. He'll put the opposition to the sword.
Mm.
And I think we can play him on the wing.
No, he don't feel like a winger, mate.
Killed a dragon.
Centre half.
Killed a dragon, didn't he?
Reason being, he's got a good cross, hasn't he, St George?
Okay.
No,
I feel like as a person, like St George feels like a centre half. He feels like a Bobby Moore. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's not often a World Cup great is known for his time on the pitch and in the dugout. Franz Beckenbauer is one of 3 men to win the tournament, both as a player and manager, and Der Kaiser's tenure with West Germany is iconic. We all know Beckenbauer as that grizzled warrior, so seeing him here, a young, fresh-faced 21-year-old, doesn't feel right, does it? 1966 was his first World Cup, when he was already building a reputation for his strong, marauding play, playing the libero or sweeper role for Bayern Munich. He had to act as a more traditional centre-back for the national team, though. West Germany fell short, losing in the final to England, but you already know that. Despite revenge over England in the quarters 4 years later, a game in which Beckenbauer was keen to get stuck in, West Germany were knocked out by Italy in the semi-finals. At 25 years old, he had a bronze medal, a silver medal, and the gold was coming. In 1974, West Germany didn't lose a single game on their way to winning their first title. And to top it all off, it was on home soil. And this was the team they beat to it, their fierce, total footballing rivals, the Netherlands, a team fronted by Johan Cruyff. Beckenbauer shocked the world when in 1977, aged just 32, he retired from international football to go and play for the New York Cosmos. The world went mad. But when you're going to go and be teammates with this guy, I mean, yeah, fair. Beckenbauer did come back to the West Germany national team, but as a manager in 1986. His task, get through the World Cup without embarrassment. But they reached the final and only lost to Argentina and their iconic captain, who, let's be honest, at the time was unstoppable. Beckenbauer returned for one final World Cup at Italia 90, where he got his revenge. West Germany beat Argentina in the final, and Beckenbauer became, at the time, only the second man after Brazil's Mario Zagallo to win the World Cup both as player and manager. So across 5 World Cups as a player and manager, he got a bronze medal, 2 silvers, and lifted the cup twice. That smile tells you everything you need to know.
It's talkSPORT at the ballpark, the first time ever in talkSPORT history. We're doing a show live from a Major League Baseball park. Absolutely incredible. Really enjoying it. Stuart Pearce, former England captain. You enjoying it?
Fantastic. I thought Greg spoke really well, didn't he? Promoting the
from the Braves, yeah.
Game. Fantastic. Really good.
And Jim, you're clearly enjoying it. You can't get enough. You've been to more baseball parks than football stadia this trip.
I'm in my element.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's a real privilege to be here. We're grateful to the Braves for hosting us as well. Check them out, braves.com. The England fans, they adopted the Braves when they came here. You heard all about it in the first hour of the show. If you are listening on the radio, you can check us out. It's an incredible scene behind us. I'd say the best backdrop we've had, I think.
By a long shot, I would say. You know? Yeah. And we're christening Jim Babe after Babe Ruth now, you know. He thought it was Babe after Oliver Hardy, but because that was his nickname as well.
Not Babe after the pig.
Oh. Hang on, we'll go into that in the next section. I forgot about Babe the pig.
It was a small pig, piglet, I think. Anyway, let's not go there. Yeah, great backdrop. You can check us out on the talkSPORT YouTube channel and your connected TV as well. We are in Atlanta because this is where the semi-final is going to be on Wednesday. I think we're around about 10 miles north of where the Atlanta Stadium is, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're out of town here. The stadium is pretty central. They're not always over here, but this one is. In terms of the venue, the Mercedes-Benz Arena, or the Atlanta Stadium as it is for this venue, which is an extraordinary stadium from an architecture point of view. It looks like Sydney Opera House on acid. It's probably the best way I can describe it with football going on.
It is a good stadium. I think we all appreciate the Atlanta Stadium, where England will play Argentina on Wednesday. Actually, yeah, we're 10 miles north and we're on the road to Chattanooga. And if you listen carefully, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? Can you hear that?
Vaguely, yeah.
Thought it was your stomach, to be fair, but it could be.
That as well, although you can see that more than you can hear it. Tim Vickery, South American correspondent, is with us to give us the view from Argentina. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm very well, and immensely looking forward to this one. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, we're good, and so looking forward to a World Cup semi-final. England going deep into tournaments is a recent thing, and we absolutely love it, happening regularly these days. Are Argentina scared of England?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it whatsoever. It's by some distance the best team that they've faced so far, and it was very strange to see them against Switzerland. Now, they've, after beating France in that World Cup final in Qatar, hardly played European opponents. The only games, there was a warm-up game against Iceland a week before the tournament. There was Austria in the group phase, and then there was Switzerland. And it was extraordinary to see that against Switzerland, right from the start, Argentina didn't fancy their chances of playing their usual possession game, of passing their way through that Swiss block. So what they were doing, right from the start, they were going long to Julian Alvarez and then looking to pick up the second ball. Second half, they tried to bring the right back into it as well and go long to him and then pick up the second ball in the zone of the field where Messi was. But it was striking to see that even against Switzerland, they didn't have the confidence to play their normal game. Now, what this is going to mean for the England game, I think, is interesting. In the previous World Cup, the coach, Scaloni, he tweaked a lot between games. There were different formations and there were different lineups. He hasn't really done it as much this time, and the team that he's played for the past couple of games has been his team. But I just wonder, on the evidence of Switzerland, because I think without the sending off, they might well have gone home because they were under the cosh second half. I wonder if he'll be thinking of a tweak. I think he needs, it's the player that he can't replace, the man you can't replace, Di Maria. No, but Di Maria was a player who could give them the transition, who could get them up the field, taking on players with one-on-one, and you can play it forward to him and open space and he'll run onto it. Can they do something like that? Maybe the player that they've got closest would be the son of Simeone, who could do that role, certainly down the right. Now, if you do that, I just wonder if there's a temptation, and this is a switch that he's done before, to go to a back three. Have a back three and then play Simeone as a kind of wide right wing back with license to bomb forward, give them some width and try and get them further down the field. Because I would have thought the lineup that played Switzerland, the way that the Switzerland game unfolded, the fact that this is in an air-conditioned stadium where Tuchel can try and make it a game of Premier League intensity, I would have thought Argentina will be thinking very seriously about changing things.
So if he does go to a back three and he plays Simeone there, is that something that will bring more out of Messi, because he's not going to have to drift out to the right-hand side as he did in that game against Switzerland? But will it give them still the same amount of defensive stability that they need? Because Molina, who played at right back in the four in that game, they ran off him for the goal. And I think that Thomas Tuchel, Tim, probably if he was having a look at how he's going to be able to create chances, would look at that and the ability to be able to play 1-2s on the left-hand side of the area and maybe getting Anthony Gordon in behind Molina might be the best way. So is he going to kill two birds with one stone if he goes to a back three?
Perhaps, because neither of his right backs, Molina or Montiel, are really 100% fit. They've had a lot of injury worries going into this tournament. They only cut one from the squad, but it went right down to the wire. They came into this tournament with a number of players short of 100%, including both the right backs. So yes, and this would probably mean the old warhorse Otamendi coming back to be in the middle of the back three with Lisandro Martinez to one side and Romero to the other. And in terms of Messi, what that would do, I think, to Messi would be get him closer in to Julian Alvarez. Now, Julian Alvarez, if you've watched them a lot in over the last 2.5 years, Alvarez, honestly, going into this tournament, he's been more important than Messi to him. He's really, really blossomed. Now, he was one of those coming into the competition who really was carrying a knock. He didn't play in any of the warm-up games. They couldn't start him in the early games, and he's been feeling his way back into the competition, not quite at his best, and then suddenly he catches fire in the Switzerland game in extra time, and he decides it, not only with the fantastic second goal that he scores, but also working back in his own half, getting a foot in, changing possession for the counter-attack that leads to the third goal. So Argentina's big hope for this game is that Julian Alvarez has now really, really arrived at the party. And if you get Messi in close to him, then that they can play their quick little combinations and give England a hard time that way.
Tim, the last game against Switzerland was decided, I think, by that sending off. That changed the game totally. I've had a fear for a couple of weeks when I saw England-Argentina potentially meeting in a semi-final. Do you think maybe a sending off for one team or other might decide this one?
Well, you know, Stuart, that this game, there's a strong emotional thing around this game, isn't there? Now, how are the two sets of players going to cope with that? Because one moment of stupidity, the little Beckham thing, I always thought that was a bit harsh, him getting sent off in 98, but the little Beckham thing in 1998 changed that game entirely. You're right, when Argentina just couldn't get a foothold at all until Embolo was sent off. So this is going to be one of those games where emotional control is absolutely vital. Now, from an emotional point of view, I think it's stronger for Argentina to play England than it is for England to play Argentina, because there's a whole history of, and Argentina was informally a part of the British Empire. The British controlled it, and that's what took football there. Now, the football sides were started by British-owned railway companies, by factories, by schools, and so on. I mean, Lionel Messi, the first team in his life, it's still a big team in his hometown city of Rosario, rejoices in the name of Newell's Old Boys, So for Argentina, there's always been that thing of taking on your old imperial masters. I think for the English fellows, that just doesn't weigh as much on their minds. But how much do you think, Stuart, that the whole off-the-field thing will affect the players on the field?
They'll be acutely aware of the rivalry between the two nations, no doubt about that. But I've had a fear factor going into this game, and I've said to the boys for a couple of weeks, I just hope I'm not too fussed whether Argentina lose their head and get players sent off. I can live with that all day long. But from an England's point of view, going into a game of this magnitude, I'm concerned that one or two of them might try and get under the skin of Jude Bellingham and the like, and try and stoke up some sort of anti-feeling on the pitch that costs us, which worries me.
Tim, I'd also point out, Scaloni said, he was asked about the nature of the game and the history of the game and the history between the two countries in the post-match press conference after Switzerland. Scaloni was keen to kind of stamp that out and nip that in the bud. He didn't want to talk about that. He clearly said, Tim, that this is just a football match.
Yeah, saying all the right things, but I think the atmosphere of the game will obviously contaminate it. Whatever he says, it will obviously contaminate it. So it really is a day for clear heads. It might well work in England's favour that there's been so much controversy about the refereeing in Argentina games, and it could well be that the referee is going to bend over backwards not to be seen to be favouring Argentina. That could well be a factor in the game. Well, I really hope that come the end of the day we're not talking about refereeing controversies. And one thing is, now so many of these players playing in the Premier League, that there are friendships there as well. And I always think, all right, you want to win, but the main point of this whole exercise is to make friends. And I hope that because there's so many similarities between English footballing culture and Argentine footballing culture, They're both rooted in working class communities. And it's probably the two countries in the world where the pyramid goes deeper, because people are really, really into supporting their local side. They don't just all flock to the big winners. Argentina, I think they probably have their terrorist songs are better. The English, I think, carry the edge in humour. But I think there are so many things that bring us together. And it would be great to think, after the end of this game, we're more friends with each other than we were before the kickoff.
Yeah, good luck with that. Tim, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Tim Vickery, South American expert, football expert. He was brilliant on Trans-Euro Express at the weekend. You can check that out in podcast form. He was absolutely superb. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. You can see we're live from the Atlanta Braves ballpark. Terrific venue. If you aren't watching on YouTube, on the talkSPORT YouTube channel, then check it out. And also you can learn more about the Atlanta Braves at braves.com.
Newcastle's summer exodus is set to reach a crisis point. Sean, you'll have heard this news. Sandro Tonali, Anthony Gordon, of course, already out the door. Club captain and fan favourite Bruno Guimaraes has reportedly informed the hierarchy that he wants to join champions Arsenal, with another star player forcing his way out. Darren Bent raised serious concerns about what this loss could mean for Eddie Howe next season.
Yeah, I do feel for Eddie Howe. I really do, because again, if Bruno leaves tonight, he's obviously gone to Tottenham as well. Isaac, they just haven't been able to kind of recruit the players certainly the quality that they've lost. And you look at what they've bought some of these players for. Isaac, was it 60 million? They sell him for 120. Like tonight, they bought him for a fee. They sell him for more. So clearly, he's improving these players. But at some point, I think if Newcastle do want to go to the next level, they've got. I know it's hard with the PSR and the financial fair play, but if they do want to go to the next level and then stay there, they've got to find a way of holding on to some of these players.
Oh, look at Darren and his floral number. Watching on the smart TV, I like that. Sure. Do you have sympathy for Eddie Howe in this situation? The latest is that Bruno has agreed personal terms with Arsenal, but Newcastle's stance is that he remains not for sale.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's really tough, and the challenge that you have is not just if one of your big players goes at any football club, at any level really. People understand there's a time and a place. When two go, that can make other players a bit itchy and a bit nervy. But then if three go, all of a sudden they go, hang on a minute, who are we bringing in? And I think they're right on that cusp. I don't know their situation at PSR, but I've been through that, obviously, in my time at Everton, so I know how dangerous that can be. But I think losing the players of that quality, I think that's really tough on Eddie, and I think he's done a great job there. So hopefully, I mean, look, you never know on the other side of that. Good people in their recruitment there. They've shown that over the years, so they might have people lined up, don't forget. So these things can twist very quickly when you get a freshness in the camp and a newness and some quality, and all of a sudden it can feel different.
It's talkSPORT live at the home of the Atlanta Braves. Check them out, braves.com. We just heard the Argentina point of view. Let's hear the England point of view. In fact, let's hear from the Brighton manager, Fabian Hertzler, who was with us at a game earlier this tournament, an England game. It feels like a long time ago, that. He joined Jim and Simon earlier today on White and John. Jim asked him if he thought that journalists would sometimes go into interviews just to try to create headlines.
I think they have an agenda, definitely. But in the end, I think we as head coaches, we have players, we, the guys who are asked after the game, we have to understand that in the end they need to ask certain questions. In the end, they want to get headlines. They want to do their job as best as possible. And being a journalist means to create the best headline. And therefore, I think we need to respect this. We try to give each other that what we need. And sometimes there are honest answers. And sometimes we have to follow this agenda.
That's the Brighton manager, Fabian Hertzler, on talkSPORT earlier today. Let's bring in co-host of Sunday Edition, esteemed football writer Henry Winter. It is all your fault. You've got an agenda. You're looking for headlines. Henry, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, absolute apologies. Good to see you guys. Enjoying your coverage as ever. I'm at the England Media Hotel and sorry, the bunker, the training centre. And Jordan Pickford's just come out and talked. And you know what? I think that, I mean, Stuart would know better than me, but the players actually can cut themselves off from this. They're in a bubble. And what I really liked about those two interviews the other night was that from Tuchel and from Jude Bellingham is it shows the winning mentality in this squad, this desire for improvement. I mean, people sometimes say, oh, Jude Bellingham and Thomas Tuchel, there are differences between them. But actually, they've got complete similarities in terms of their strength of character, their winning mindset, their desperation to do well for the teams, and obviously themselves as well. So I didn't really think that the interview was fishing for headlines. I think he was just wanting to know what Thomas Tuchel, this is Gabriel Clark, obviously, of ITV, what he wanted to know about the team. But the important thing is to take a step back. I think England in the semi-final of a World Cup. England got one of the best players in the world in Jude Bellingham. Got one of the best finishers in the world in Harry Kane. You see the changes that Thomas makes later. You see, I've been here so long with England, I'm calling Thomas now rather than Herr Tuchel. That you know, the impact that his subs make, the changes that he makes. So there's so much to be positive about. So I've had a few calls from people saying, "Oh, is there an issue in the camp?" from other sort of media outlets and from friends. I don't think so. I love this mentality. I love this straight talking. I love they're driving each other on and they are pursuing the best. And if any player has got, I mean, Stuart again would say better than me, but if any player has got an issue with what Thomas said, then they probably don't belong in an elite dressing room. I thought it was fantastic what Tuchel said, challenging the players, and what Jude Bellingham said, always challenging himself and challenging everyone to drive England on. Because England can get past this very good streetwise Argentina team, but they're going to need everyone to be right on their A game, which is effectively what Thomas Tuchel was calling for.
Emery, I found it really refreshing that Thomas Tuchel come out, he put his heart on his sleeve out there and he told us exactly what we saw with our own eyes. From a journalistic point of view, surely you must find that refreshing as well.
Totally refreshing. I mean, Stuart, you know how long I've been doing this, and we've had one or two managers have tiptoed around sensitivities, tiptoed around the possibility of headlines, and Tuchel doesn't really care what I think, what I write, what I might say. He just wants absolutely the best for this squad. And look, we've seen it from some of the clips from the dressing room, from talking to the players, how much they like Tuchel, not simply as a tactician, not simply as someone who sets them up and they enjoy his training, but they like him as a bloke. There's a emotional fluency and intelligence to Tuchel. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Tigger at times, the way he sort of bounces around, and you know, just that sort of energy and that likeable. I mean, you know, you guys, I think Adrian, you were there when we all had lunch with Tuchel, and he's very engaging company. And that wind up that John Stones and Declan Rice did on him after in the Azteca, and his reaction to it, and then their reaction to him, shows that togetherness. So a few strong words coming out and giving them some home truths, I think it's fantastic. And if it gets them past Argentina, then he'll be celebrated even more.
Henry, he's gone from Henning Veen to Tigger now. I don't know where he's going to end up in a week's time. A national treasure if he wins the World Cup.
Do you know what? We love Henning Veen. He came and talked at my son's school, and he stood in front of them, and he had his microphone stand, and he got this large string of sausages, and he put it over the microphone stand and said, future leaders or whatever of this country, I hear it's a tradition in England that a comedian would always start with his verse, the joke, and pointed at the sausages. So look, he's brilliant. I love German humour. I love It's not one of his best jokes either. But yeah, absolutely. But you know, you got to love that. Look, I was at school in Germany, in Munich, for a term as a kid, and I love the Germans. So huge respect for Thomas Tuchel, and I think he's got that nous. I think he's got that intelligence, that mindset, echoing Jude Bellingham's winning mindset, to get England over the line in what's going to be a tough game where you are on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think those interviews, I think it could work in England's favour. Thomas Tuchel's smart enough to get it to work in England's favour before Wednesday here in Atlanta. And I think the other thing is that he talked about being lucky, and he used it broadly in that TV interview. But in the press conference afterwards, I'm sure you were there, Henry, he specified, you know, we're talking about being lucky in specific moments, i.e. that Norway didn't go 2-0 up. So I think those little details, when he explains everything, just like Gareth used to in press conferences, it's all the answers are there, but those little details are important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. I mean, there's a broader point here in that the narrative has all been about the sport in this tournament, and in a way there've been no real stories with England. There are no hoolies, there are no wags, there are no real issues in the camp. There was a sort of, you know, little bit, you know, people like me would squeak about why certain players were not in the camp, but actually it's been fairly smooth, and all the focus, I mean, you know, Stuart was Italian 90, well, Euro 96. I mean, Stuart remembers the start of Euro 96. It was we were talking about anything but the football, and obviously that changed. Brian Robson actually came into a press conference at Burnham Beeches or Bisham Abbey and gave us all a rollicking and actually told us to focus on the football, and we tended to do and still do what Robbo says. So look, I think it's I can understand the agenda on those headlines, but the agenda, as you've been rightly saying, I've been listening to you, is actually about this fantastic winning mindset that this team has got, embodied by the coach, embodied by Jude, and embodied in those two press conferences. I didn't really have a problem with either of those interviews. I just thought it just showed a huge will to win.
Very quick final one, Henry. How confident are you England will win on Wednesday?
I thought they would get through the last two games. I thought it'd be 2-1 the last two games, and I think they'll get through. I think that we know if you get at them with pace, if you get at them with passing, if you get at them with crossing, I'm not completely convinced by their two fullbacks. If you can somehow close down Messi and know that he will pad around for 60, 70 minutes and then burst into life. He's a beautiful player, one of the world's greatest, top three of all time for me, along with Pelé and Maradona. But he's a man of moments now, and I think if you can close down those moments, then you've absolutely got a chance. But it's going to be about heart, it's going to be about head, it's going to be about extra time, it's going to be about discipline, it's going to be about the referee understanding, the competitive nature of a World Cup semi-final. But I think with Jude Bellingham and with Tuchel's changes and the strength off the bench, England will edge it.
Henry, great to talk to you. Thank you very much. Co-host of the Sunday edition on talkSPORT, Henry Winter, esteemed football writer, with us from the England camp live on talkSPORT. We're at the home of the Atlanta Braves.
I mean, as recently as 2024, Bruno Touzazol, he told everybody who cared to listen what he wanted to achieve at Newcastle.
Never said that I would like to leave. Since I signed for the club, I always said I want to put my name in the club history, and nothing changed. Nothing changed from me. It is keeping going. I still want to win some trophy for me. When I signed for the club, I said I want to play Champions League, and everyone said that I was crazy. And we got it. Now I wanna be in Champions League again. I wanna win something for the club. I think the fans deserve. We are worked so hard to get it, so this is still my dream.
And then a year later, Simon, they win the Carabao Cup. And Bruno says, this is my second home. We're making history. Someday, when I leave this club, I want the fans to sing my name the way they do Alan Shearer. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Well, look, first and foremost, ask yourself the question, why are these players suddenly all deserting the sinking ship? It's not a sinking ship, but it doesn't appear to be a particularly ambitious one. It doesn't appear to have an ownership model that everyone thought was going to change the whole direction of football. Oh, my God, we've just sold to a nation state, one of the richest nation states, and look what they're going to do to football. But they haven't done anything. They're going to buy everybody. They're going to buy Ronaldo. They're going to buy Messi. They're going to have this player here, that player, this player, you know, and they haven't. Yeah. They bought a bunch of players that to some extent, they've gone and made better. And these players are now doing what every player does, which is go, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Oh, Real Madrid. And that's what Newcastle have found themselves in a position of doing. So ask yourself the question, despite the vilification of a player that 2 years ago said he wanted to stay, nothing lasts forever. He's done his 2 years. He is entitled to leave. How he leaves is the key component part of this. But also, why? Why are Newcastle now a place where people want to leave from?
Yeah.
And that's the problem Eddie Howe's got. That's the problem that Matey Boy that says it to everyone they're going to win the league by 2030.
Yeah.
Those are the challenges that they've got.
Two moments forever indelibly associated with England's World Cup history.
Enrique to Maradona. Different class.
Wait a minute, he's taking another card out for Beckham. It's a red card for David Beckham.
Oh, no. I've got an added layer to it.
Coming in the shooting, Messi! It is in! It is 2-2! It is Messi!
39 years of age. There's moments of genius.
This is the spirit of World Cup winners. This is the spirit of a team, a nation who are not willing to give their trophy away.
We'll get everything we've got. You saw that there. Whoever was ready to come on, came on, and so proud of this team once again in a World Cup semi-final.
Spilled by the goalkeeper and bundled in. England lead. It is Jude Bellingham again.
They have what it takes to overcome difficult moments.
To meet Argentina in an unforgettable night.
Yeah, we're in Atlanta for the semi-final on Wednesday, England-Argentina, and this show coming to you live from the home of the Atlanta Braves. They've got a game on Friday against Texas Rangers. If you are in the vicinity, check them out, braves.com. The storm that was threatening here, there was a lot of rain in the first hour of this show, and plenty of it, and we expected more. It's just swept aside, and we're actually okay. Thankfully, I can tell you in Kansas City, it's absolutely burning sunshine. talkSPORT England correspondent Faye Carruthers is there. You enjoying the sunshine, Faye?
Very much, although I am currently in an air-conditioned box, so not at the minute, but it's cooler in here. The temperatures in Kansas over the last few weeks have been absolutely insane. We had all those storms that you've been predicted in Atlanta. We've been caught in those, but the last probably 10 days has just been solid sunshine and heat. So it's good that the players have had that experience, although obviously that heat in Miami that we all experienced was different level.
Yeah, it really was that. It was very sticky and humid there. Listen, one of the big stories since that quarter-final win over Norway has been the post-match interview of Gabriel Clark. You are the queen of post-match interviews. Me personally, I don't think anybody does them better than you. You get lines out of players and manager that nobody else can get. It is an art. It's a skill. It's not easy at all because they've just been playing football for 90, 120 minutes. So tell us how you do the job. Tell us how difficult that job can be.
Listen, it's a real privilege, first and foremost, to be able to speak to, the people involved in the action that we've just seen over the last 90 to 120 minutes and be one of the first people to speak to them off the pitch. And what I will say is that Gabriel Clark is one of the best people to do that. And obviously, as a television interviewer, because it was ITV's game, he spoke to both Thomas Tuchel and Jude Bellingham straight off the pitch. So all the adrenaline, all the emotion is there straight away. It almost doesn't matter in some ways what question is posed, because a lot of the time a player or a manager just wants to get all of their feelings from the last 90 minutes or 120 minutes off their chest. And I think that's what we saw in that post-match interview, because actually, you know, Gabriel started it off, we're into a semi-final, it was positive, and Thomas Tuchel chose to go down the line of he wasn't happy with the performance. That was a winning mentality. You know, he knows that England, if they want to beat Argentina, have to play better. And as a football coach, which is what he said to me when, by the way, he had calmed down a bit by the time he reached me in the tunnel and spoke to me, you know, he wants them to play better, and he felt that they needed to hear that message. He wasn't questioning their mentality at all. And actually, when Gabriel asked the question about mentality, he was actually listing other things. He said he wanted more out of Thomas. Well, why weren't you happy with the performance? So he just gave a couple of, you know, reasons as to why maybe, you know, he didn't like it, and mentality was one of the words he used. And I think it was slightly lost in translation what he was trying to get from Thomas Tuchel. And you know, then we got that fantastic quote that we got from him about bottling up mentality and selling it. And then when that then transferred over to Jude, all he was doing was giving Jude some of the message that Thomas Tuchel had given him and the fans and the public, because ultimately we're the conduit between the fans and the public. They want to ask the questions. We try and ask the questions that they want answering. Don't always get it right, by the way. It's a very, very stressful job, and sometimes, you know, I've had, you know, people bite back at me before if I've maybe not been articulate enough in the way I've phrased a question or asked it, and then that's been misinterpreted, and then I've had to explain it. You know, but ultimately these are people that have had adrenaline coursing through their veins for 90 to 120 minutes and don't always think as straight as they necessarily would do, you know, 10 to 15 minutes later in an interview scenario. But I absolutely agree with Jim White earlier on, and with our very own Jim Proudfoot as well. Gabriel asked the right questions, and he did it in the right way. And I think, you know, maybe he'll be sitting there thinking, I maybe should have asked it differently or given a little bit more context. I'm sure Jude will be thinking I maybe could have answered it differently. I'm thinking Thomas might be thinking that he could answer it differently as well. But, you know, ultimately they were newsworthy lines because they were the feelings of the people at the time.
Faye, I think it is one of the most difficult remits within our industry. I've found it a lot easier since Stuart left Manchester City. I've found it a much easier job to do. He just used to mercilessly take the mickey out of my suit, and I would never interview him until he'd had his first cup of coffee after a game, because it was just too dangerous. I needed him to calm down, get some caffeine in him. But I'm full of admiration for the way that you do the job. What are the tricks that actually elicit the best response out of a manager or a player? And I would imagine that's a much more difficult job to do from experience when you don't know somebody than when you have been able to build up a relationship as you have with the England team.
Yeah, building up the relationship's really key, because they know that you're not trying to get them, you know, that kind of gotcha moment. And, you know, you might still get a bite. And ultimately, we all interpret the game differently. And so part of it is how I've interpreted the game. When I come on, especially during the sports bar, or when you guys are still on after a game and dissecting it, a lot of the time I'll pick out comments that Stu's made, or you've made, or Aid's made, and put that to the player, because that is going to always elicit a different response. You know, I've said to Thomas before, you know, and to Gareth Southgate, if I've been listening to the callers, because that's ultimately, you know, we serve the listeners and viewers of talkSPORT. If I've heard somebody phone in and be critical about the performance, or praise a performance, you know, whichever way, whether it's positive or negative, I will usually use something like that, because that's, you know, not my perception, that's the outside perception being thrown to somebody. Because my view of the game pitch side is very different to your view of the game in the commentary booth, is very different to Thomas Tuchel's view of the game from the dugout, and then very different to the players' view actually in the thick of the match itself. So you've got to try and bring all of those elements together, and formulate questions that give them the opportunity to go where they want with it, because ultimately I don't want to steer them in a specific direction, but it has to be what their feeling is, and you saw that with the opening question from Gabriel Clark. Thomas chose to take it down that way. I think I've just knocked off, if anybody's watching this, I've just knocked off Harry Kane, and we can't be having an injured Harry Kane in our studio here in Kansas. We've got little figurines for anybody who's not watching. We have these little figurines of all the players, and I've literally just knocked Harry Kane off. He's okay, don't worry. The captain is not injured. But yeah, that's what I try and do. You know, I try and gauge it in the moment how I see it, but open it up in a really open-ended way for them to take it where they want to take it.
It's good to know that Harry Kane has not been knocked off in that biblical sense. Thank you very much for that, Faye, for clarifying.
My fault we've not won the World Cup.
I'm glad you explained. For those watching, they will understand it was a Harry Kane figurine. So Harry Kane is fit, and I know that you're obviously in and around the England camp. We're going to hear your interview with Nico O'Reilly that you've done today. We'll hear that very shortly. But is there any news regarding fitness of players ahead of Wednesday?
No, it's closed training today, so we don't hear any rumours that have come out. But I just played darts with Jordan Pickford. You'll see that on socials very shortly. For anybody who remembers Euro 2024, I beat him. He was very unhappy about it in the media versus players darts tournament that we have, and he got his revenge this year, I'm afraid, which means that the media have lost the darts tournament this year, 5-3 in total. I didn't totally disgrace myself, but I mean, I'm taking it as a massive compliment that he was absolutely buzzing and pumped to beat me. So that to me makes me feel better because he knew I was a worthy opponent.
You've done a good thing for the nation there, Faye.
Yeah, exactly, exactly that. Go on, sorry.
I'm sure he was extremely happy. You have given him the confidence to do that. And actually, I wanted to ask you about Jordan Pickford, because I knew you played darts with him today. Great against Mexico. He was absolutely fantastic. Listen, we got over the line against Norway. There were little moments with Jordan. Were there any little conversations between you and him while you were throwing the arrows?
Oh yeah, he was trying to psych me out. And he did a fairly good job of it, to be honest. I don't think I said afterwards, I don't think my mentality is necessarily the same as the winning mentality of the England players, and actually I'm all right with that. You'll hear some good quotes from him. Actually, he was on good form in the press conference afterwards, really pumped about the game against Argentina, looking forward to pitting himself against the best in Lionel Messi. And the interview with Nico O'Reilly is also really interesting because I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, Harry Kane talked to me about manifesting, and him and his wife Kate, you know, really believe in the power of manifestation, and Nico O'Reilly does too, and he has dreamt every night about winning the World Cup. So I really hope that comes to pass. It's a really interesting interview with the youngster. I feel like he's really grown in confidence in this tournament, having started 5 of the 6 games. Just needs a goal, which I feel is coming. They know that they've got to take the handbrake off, and hopefully we'll see that against Argentina. You've got to go all in against a team like that.
Yeah, we're always tipping Nico O'Reilly for a goal. With you and your job, if England go out, you go home. So how confident are you that England will get through this semi-final?
Yeah, I think they will. I think we'll go on to the 3rd place final, which no one wants to do, by the way. No one wants to report on it. No one wants to play it. It's the most pointless match in football, but equally, you know, FIFA need to put on another game for whatever reason. And to be fair, winning a bronze medal in the World Cup is certainly nothing to sniff at, but you know, with the winners that we've got in this group, they will sniff at it, I think, until they're a little bit older and maybe think about it. But we're not going to think about that, because right from the beginning I've said we're going to go all the way. I think the final, you know, anything can happen in that. We've built our way into the tournament. I think we've won every single game differently, which I think can only hold us in really good stead against Argentina. And having watched quite a bit of Argentina actually over this tournament, because they've been based in Kansas, we've been to see them training on a couple of occasions, managed to watch their games because they're in and around when England play. I think we can beat them. I feel confident. And actually we've got some Argentina fans in our hotel. And I was speaking to one of them over doing laundry, and we were having a conversation about the 2 teams, and he said, I really hope we get to play you in the semi-finals, because I think it will be a great game. And as we were saying, you know, I remember Stu saying in the car on the way to Miami Stadium, I just want to play Argentina because I think it will be a better spectacle. And I absolutely, it's no disrespect to Switzerland in the slightest, but if you want to be a world champion, you want to beat the best. And I feel like this is the kind of statement that England need to make for people to really start thinking about them in terms of being winners of this World Cup.
Faye, great stuff. Thank you very much for joining us. Faye Carruthers in the England camp in Kansas City for talkSPORT. And the only good thing about the Faye going to that third place game, if England do lose the semi-final, is in Miami. Going back to Miami, I mean, that is an absolute bonus, because that's been by far for me the best place that we've been on this World Cup tour. And you did say it was the game you wanted, didn't you, Stuart? It was England-Argentina. You said that on the podcast after we'd beaten Norway.
Yeah, I certainly did. It was. I've been looking at the draw and looking at the potential route for the draw, and seeing Argentina in the semi-final and thinking, what a sensational game that is. You know, I just think it's an all-or-nothing game. The winner goes through at the final. Messi playing in the game, us playing extremely well as well. It's just got everything, that fixture.
Yeah, it's. I think England-Argentina is going to be such a special night. Of course, it's live on talkSPORT, and for those fans who are actually in Atlanta but not able to get tickets to the game at the Atlanta Stadium, to the England-Argentina game, here at what they call the Battery, the Atlanta Braves are going to be showing the England-Argentina game at the Battery in Atlanta. All fans are welcome, and I promise you it's a proper party. It's a great night. When they had the big party that we were talking about earlier, an Oasis tribute band, Broasis, played, and they were absolutely magnificent. So get yourself along to that if you can't get a ticket to the game and you are here in Atlanta.
That 30-year feud reignited between Roy Keane and Alfie Haaland. So Haaland's dad was obviously at the game, obviously unhappy with how things played out between Norway and England, whether it's his son being penalised for pushing Elliot Anderson in the box and that goal being ruled out, whether it's the ball hitting the spider cam for England's first. So he's really frustrated, and he takes to X to sarcastically congratulate Bellingham and the referee, claimed Norway were robbed by the French referee Clement Turpin. In response, on his podcast, Roy Keane decides to stick the knife in even further by saying that alcohol could have impacted Alfie Haaland's judgment on proceedings because, quote, he always seems to be drinking alcohol at the matches. He added, if you're having a drink, then you're seeing the game differently. No love lost between them. A quick reminder, back in 1997, Roy Keane tore his ACL trying to tackle Haaland when he was playing for City. 4 years later, the two clashed again when Keane issued a premeditated sort of knee-high tackle on Haaland. So, yeah, absolute handbag still 30 years later, Gabs.
Yeah, Roy's a bitter guy, though. Like I said before, I had him at Villa. But at least Haaland hasn't walked out of his country at a World Cup.
Oh.
Drop the mic.
Oh.
Where's my water?
Wow. Well, make sure it's not alcohol.
Whatever.
See things a bit differently.
Glass houses.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if grown men need to be behaving like that when they get an opportunity.
Yeah, but I feel like he's going to be like that. Haaland's dad, he's devastated. His son's not scored or whatever, and his country's going home. There's no harm in that.
And we hear that Haaland wasn't at full fitness either. Tony Cascarino, in fact, got a message at half-time saying that he's been ill. Yeah. And so obviously we see, don't we, with the parents of or the family members of footballers, they passionately defend their loved ones. But it seems that Roy Keane's just taken the opportunity. He's seen the opportunity to just dig it in.
Yes.
It's talkSPORT. It's kickoff live from the home of the Braves, the Atlanta Braves baseball team. This is the ballpark behind me. If you can't check us out because you listen to the radio, then get us on the talkSPORT YouTube channel on your connected TV as well. You'll see the stadium in all of its glory. Right, Nico O'Reilly he looks set to keep his spot at left back. It seems set in stone now for the semi-final against Argentina on Wednesday. Live on talkSPORT, and earlier on today spoke to our England correspondent Faye Carruthers.
Nico, you are a World Cup semi-finalist. How does that sound?
It's crazy. Yeah, unbelievable feeling, and I can't wait for the game.
Yeah, how much are you looking forward to it?
A lot. Yeah, it's World Cup semi-final. Not a lot of people get to that position, and yeah, I'm just going to relish it and take it all in.
Not a lot of people get to that position at your age either. I just want to kind of go back and look at what you've achieved over the last 2 seasons. So 2 seasons ago you were playing for the youth team, Manchester City, and now you're a key player for them. You scored in a cup final and you're in a World Cup semi-final with England. I mean, if you look back at 2 years ago, could you even have imagined that this would be the position that you're in right now?
I've always dreamt and I've always had goals to be in positions like this, and I think I did have an interview 3 years ago, and I did say that I wanted to be in the World Cup squad and playing for Manchester City, and yeah, I managed to make them 2 goals and dreams happen. So yeah, it's always been there in the back of my mind, and now I'm here and I'm loving every minute. Are
you into manifestation, because Harry Kane is, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I am. I think it's a big thing in my life, in my career. I'm always believing and yeah, dreaming of the next things.
So have you dreamed of celebrating with the World Cup trophy in your hands?
Yeah, every night.
Every night?
Every night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Describe that dream for me.
Just the celebrations and the togetherness in the changing rooms, going back home, seeing everyone celebrating. Yeah, it would be amazing.
Explain that mindset to me of how you do it, because I also enjoy manifesting. I think it really helps, especially when you've got an end goal. But the mentality to actually then go and deliver it, how do you describe to people what your mentality is like to do that?
I think I just have a winner's mindset. I just always want to win. And yeah, I think if you believe it, you dream it, you talk it, yeah, then you've got it all there to go and put the actions into play and go and do it. So yeah, I think manifesting is a big thing for me.
In terms of you personally, and then as the team collective, obviously the strengths that you have at set pieces, everybody talks about. The opportunity hasn't quite been there yet in this tournament. How much does set pieces need to go up a level at this stage of the tournament?
Yeah, set pieces are very important. It can define games, it can define tournaments. So yeah, now we're going to keep obviously trying to score, keep them out of our net, the other side. And yeah, keep working on new stuff, different stuff to try and get one up on the opposition.
Do you think it's fair to say we need to be putting more balls in the box? Stuart Pearce in commentary is always saying, just get the ball in the box and someone's going to get their head on it. And he's been, saying regularly, you're there a lot of the time to get your head on the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's timing. The game changes so quick in split seconds. So maybe a cross is on at one point and then suddenly it's gone. But yeah, I think if we keep putting balls in the box, keep attacking that goal, yeah, eventually they'll crack and we'll get an opening.
I want to talk to you about your new Manchester City teammate, Elliot Anderson. It was finally announced a couple of weeks ago. What is he going to bring to Manchester City?
Yeah, he's going to bring a lot. Obviously, have you seen here? He's so good on the ball, so good off the ball. He dictates the game. So yeah, him in the Manchester City shirt. We always have most of the ball anyway. So yeah, I think he'll just go up another level than what he's already at, and yeah, he's going to be amazing.
What are you most looking forward to in terms of playing with him that you've learnt playing with him for England?
I think just the stability you bring to the middle of the pitch. He's so good at intercepting balls, winning balls, and yeah, driving counter-attacks. But then he's also got the side to his game where he controls it, he does diags, breaks lines. He's got everything to his game, and I think he'll really relish at Surrey.
There was a moment in the game against Norway where he was, getting a bit physical with Erling Haaland. Do you think Erling will have been impressed with what he saw?
Yeah, I think he will. I think Erling knows that the player Elliot is, and that's the reason we signed him. But I think they'll both work very good together as well. I'm sure he'll get him a lot of assists.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of admiration for him. I meant to ask you a question before we sat down of whether you'd actually played with or trained with Julian Alvarez before he left for Atletico Madrid, and what you made of him.
Yeah, I trained with him a few times when I was a bit younger before he left, and he's such a good player. He's shooting, he's dribbling, passing. He had it all to his game, and I was a bit shocked when I first seen him. I was like, what's he doing on the bench? But he's a great player.
Yeah. When you say you were shocked when you saw him, in what way?
Of how good he was. Because obviously I didn't see much game time with him because obviously Erling was playing. But he's such a good player.
Yeah, look, Argentina have got loads of good players as well. Who else have you seen? Many of them play in the Premier League as well, so you've seen them and played up against them as well.
Yeah, they have a great squad, but so do we, so it'll be a good game. Yeah.
Is the handbrake going to come off, or is it just in-game context that you're going to have to think about?
Yeah, of course we want the handbrake to come off now. As you said, it's the last four. If it's going to come off, it needs to be now. We'll do everything we can to try and make that happen, and we're just going to go for it.
Nico O'Reilly talking about manifesting was really interesting. Harry Kane doing it as well. If he's manifesting lifting that World Cup, then let's just hope that manifesting does what. Does manifesting work for you, Stuart?
Well, it used to be called visualisation. Is manifesting slightly different, or is it a similar type of thing?
Do you know, Jim?
No, I think it's a similar type of thing.
Yeah.
You look at what you want to appear in the future, and there are different ways of doing it. As I understand it, you can actually physically make picture boards and cut things out. So you can, particularly with AI, you could cut out a picture of you lifting the World Cup, and you spend your time looking at that, thinking about it a lot. And the more you think about it, the theory being, the more likely it is that thing will happen.
And you might not know this, but our producer Dec often is seen visualising golf putts.
Yeah.
Manifesting that ball going in the hole,
You're often known for manifesting your dinner, and that always comes true.
It often does.
Manifesting your dinner halfway down your shirt sometimes.
Loads more to come. We're live at the ballpark in Atlanta on talkSPORT. You can check out the backdrop. It is a bit special here. The home of the Atlanta Braves, Braves.com if you want to check them out. More to come. We're going to talk more about England and their performances and where that's left them in terms of their world position. How good are England? This is talkSPORT.
British sensation Arthur Ferry shocked the world, becoming just the second ever wildcard to make a Wimbledon semi-final. He is with us now live in the studio. Good morning to you, Arthur.
Good morning, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Amazing.
How's life, mate? How's it all going?
It's been good. It's been busy, that's for sure, past few days. But yeah, it's going to be nice to have a bit of time off and just relax, process everything.
I was going to ask you straight away, what have you learnt from your experience at Wimbledon? Because like I spoke to you before we come on, I was watching the Dimitrov win, and honestly, mate, the tennis that you was playing is unbelievable. Everyone talking about it. Everyone is English, so proud of you. But what were your experiences and what have you learnt from your time in Wimbledon?
Yeah, it was the first time that I, caught the general public's eye, and I was playing in front of a lot of people. So, getting used to that was good. I had 2 weeks and six matches to kind of get used to it progressively. So, yeah, that was good, and going to use that experience to moving forward as well.
What was it like after every round you're getting past, and then you could hear people saying, "I'm not sure we can get past that, wild card. I'm not sure we can beat him. I'm sure we beat him." Did you hear those people saying those things? That spur you on a little bit?
Yeah, I was the outsider for most of those matches that I played. But yeah, I was just kept believing in myself. I knew that I could beat those players, and just brought that self-belief on.
Did you feel the pressure, Arthur? Because even here at talkSPORT, you know what we're like. We jump on it, right? And we jump on it hard. Did that outside noise filter through at any point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, professional sportsmen, there's always some pressure associated to it. But no, just tried to keep the distractions out and just.
It's not often a World Cup great is known for his time on the pitch and in the dugout. Franz Beckenbauer is one of 3 men to win the tournament, both as a player and manager, and Der Kaiser's tenure with West Germany is iconic. We all know Beckenbauer as that grizzled warrior, so seeing him here, a young, fresh-faced 21-year-old, doesn't feel right, does it? 1966 was his first World Cup, when he was already building a reputation for his strong, marauding play, playing the libero or sweeper role for Bayern Munich. He had to act as a more traditional centre-back for the national team, though. West Germany fell short, losing in the final to England, but you already know that. Despite revenge over England in the quarters 4 years later, a game in which Beckenbauer was keen to get stuck in, West Germany were knocked out by Italy in the semi-finals. At 25 years old, he had a bronze medal, a silver medal, and the gold was coming. In 1974, West Germany didn't lose a single game on their way to winning their first title. And to top it all off, it was on home soil. And this was the team they beat to it, their fierce, total footballing rivals, the Netherlands, a team fronted by Johan Cruyff. Beckenbauer shocked the world when in 1977, aged just 32, he retired from international football to go and play for the New York Cosmos. The world went mad, but when you're going to go and be teammates with this guy, fair. Beckenbauer did come back to the West Germany national team, but as a manager in 1986. His task, get through the World Cup without embarrassment. But they reached the final and only lost to Argentina and their iconic captain, who, let's be honest, at the time was unstoppable. Beckenbauer returned for one final World Cup at Italia 90, where he got his revenge. West Germany beat Argentina in the final, and Beckenbauer became, at the time, only the second man after Brazil's Mario Zagallo to win the World Cup both as player and manager. So across 5 World Cups as a player and manager, he got a bronze medal, 2 silvers, and lifted the cup twice. That smile tells you everything you need to know.
It's a first for talkSPORT, the first time ever in talkSPORT history we are hosting a show live from the ballpark, live from a Major League Baseball stadium, the home of the Atlanta Braves. Behind us, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see what a magnificent venue this is. There's a game here Friday if you want to check it out and you're in the vicinity. And if you can't get a ticket to England against Argentina, World Cup semi-final here in Atlanta on Wednesday, then right next door to the stadium they're having a big party, and they know how to party here at the Atlanta Braves. Check them out, braves.com. Got some news from the France camp ahead of France-Spain, the first semi-final, which is tomorrow in Dallas. All 26 France players trained in Dallas today, including Kylian Mbappe. You may have noticed that he went off in the Morocco game. There was a bit of an ice pack on his ankle, but he trained. He's absolutely fine. More on that first semi-final to come in this last hour of kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Adrian Durham. Stuart Pearce and Jim Proudfoot are with me. I want to talk about England and how good they are, because they've kind of crept over the line in a couple of games. Defensive rearguard as well. Stuart, first of all, saw some stats today about England's performance at this World Cup. In fact, the performances of all 4 semi-finalists at this World Cup. England weren't number 1 in any of those stats, I think, apart from crossing. And I just thought to myself, does that mean we're actually not very good and we've overachieved compared to the lack of quality we've got compared to the others?
Well, I think if you looked at all 4 of the semi-finalists, there's only probably the French, looking externally at the French anyway.
The eye test, you mean? Or
exactly that. You think they look every bit a team that could lift the World Cup. I think the other 3 that are there are all arrived at a semi-final and all think to themselves, there's more to come from us individually. I'm sure Spain think that, and certainly Argentina have not been consistent in their play. We've been that. We've hit some highs on occasion, but it's been a little bit inconsistent. But maybe that's the nature of it. I can probably only look at France and say, out of all the teams that have arrived here, they're the only ones that have probably offered a real level of consistency.
I saw those same stats and they were fascinating, because what they assumed, I think, was that the general level of the opposition that each of the 4 semi-finalists have played was broadly similar, and it hasn't been. It hasn't been at all. So you can look at England's metrics of being lower in various departments to some of the others, but I think that there is an explanation for that. England have played 3 sides out of the 6 that are in the top 11 in the world in the yellow ratings, and none of the others have done that. Argentina, I think, have only played 2 in the top 29. So yes, their statistics should be better than England's in many departments, because ostensibly they've had a much easier run to get to this point. So it was very interesting, but I don't think that England's analytics department will be looking at that thinking, oh, Struth, there are various areas we've got to improve, just on the basis of those numbers alone.
Yeah, it's another thing where context is everything, and I think you're right about Argentina's run. Now, all 4 seeds have got to the semi-finals, which I guess is what FIFA were kind of expecting, maybe wanting. The big boys are there, the best teams are there. But they've all had their journeys along the way. But Argentina's seem to be a lot easier than the rest. When in a knockout game, you're kind of struggling to get past Cape Verde. And before that, you've played Jordan and Algeria and Austria. I don't know, am I underestimating the size of the task they've gone through, Argentina, or have they had it easy? And I look at where they've played as well. England have been all the way up to New York and Boston, down to Mexico City. This is going to be their 2nd game in Atlanta, Dallas as well, Miami. England have had proper journeys. I think that my belief is Argentina have played in a couple of places a couple of times, so it's been relatively easy for them.
Yeah, no, definitely, I'll go along with that. But the thing is that, it was largely an open draw. Certainly to the extent of which group Argentina or England were going to be put in at that stage as they were coming out. We knew that 2 were going to be in that half of the draw, but it could have been England that were drawn first, and then they could have ended up in that group, and that Argentina could have ended up in England's group. So yeah, they've had a little bit of luck of the draw, but every side will hope for that in tournaments, and England have had it in the past, if they haven't necessarily had it quite as much here. But they have had, I think, much the most facile route through to this stage. You'd look at Spain's draw and the quality of opposition they've played, and they've probably had the hardest run on paper so far, and that's notwithstanding the fact that England have played 3 top 11 teams.
I think at this stage you look and look back on the tournament and think does it give us a pointer to say that Argentina have not over-excelled to get where they are, and have England over-excelled so that I don't think it means a great deal. Both teams have arrived at a semi-final stage. Both probably, if they put their hand on their heart, say we've not played our best football consistently, and it's all to play for. I mean, we watched the Cape Verde game. It's the only time we've seen Argentina live, and my goodness me, it was played at walking pace by Argentina, literally walking pace, and it was quite incredible, really. I thought they played a lot better against Switzerland, but they probably had to.
Well, they did, but I think that Switzerland, as we discussed earlier, were very much on top. They were getting efforts on target, they equalised, and then the red card happened, and he's been an incredibly silly boy. He's probably cost Switzerland a place in the semi-finals of the World Cup, because they were definitely on top. How good then, Jim, are England? I mean, what can we read into all this? The performances so far. Yep, they're in the semi-finals, but do we really believe that they could possibly be the number one in the world?
No. I mean, in terms of the 4 teams that are left in it, they are ranked 4th in both lists in the FIFA World Rankings and the ELO ratings. Now, we talk about the ELO ratings a lot, and the reason that I like them, I think that they forecast trends in the FIFA World Rankings 2 or 3 months before they happen. You can see what's going to happen. They're also updated on effectively a live basis after every game. So you're not waiting for the middle of the following month to see how results have influenced things. You have an immediate snapshot. Now, the way they work, very briefly, when international football started, every team is given a rating of 2,000. Now, clearly, this has been done retrospectively, and they've gone back over previous games. The factors that are taken into account are the quality of opposition and their specific rating at the time of the game. The competition that it's in, so obviously a match in a World Cup is going to have more bearing than a friendly. Home advantage is also taken into account. So what happens is your ranking of 2,000, if you're playing against a team that has a ranking, say, of 1,900, and you beat them, then that's not going to be as impressive as if you're playing against another team that has the same ranking as you of 2,000. And then points are traded between the 2 teams. The formula is extremely complicated, but it's available online. You can have a look at it. It means absolutely nothing to me, but the numbers are fascinating. So England's rating right now is their highest for more than a century. So what that is saying is that, okay, England are ranked 4th in the world, but the actual score that they have, which is approaching 2,100, I think it's 2,097, something like that, is higher than it has been at any time since 1914. So the ratings are saying that this is the best England team that there has been. Now, I would look back at ratings over the first 30, 40 years of this as saying that you can treat them all with a pinch of salt because there were very few international countries were playing. Obviously, that massively predates the World Cup. And so it was only when there are maybe more than 100 teams playing international football that the ratings really begin to settle down. So they would argue that statistically, this England team is regarded as the best one ever. Better than the 1966 World Cup winning team. And they've done well in beating Mexico away from home. They got a lot of points for that. Getting past the Norway side, who were ranked in the top 8. I think they were 8th when the game was played. And okay, it went to extra time, but they still get points for that. So they've been on a par for the last 2 or 3 months with the team of the late 60s, the world champion team that was about to go into the 1970 World Cup. But those last 2 results have just taken them up that little bit more. Now, I'm not sure that many would suggest that the eye test would tell you that this is the best England team that there has been, even the best England team that there has been in our lifetime. Very difficult to compare sides of different eras, but if you're looking at it from a statistical base, then I just thought that was a really interesting comparison, that this one is regarded as better than all its predecessors.
In all honesty, I wouldn't argue against that, because the level of consistency that England have shown, not just taking a snapshot of the here and now at this tournament, Jim, but going back over the last 8 years and what we've achieved in major tournaments and where we've got always to the latter end of those tournaments, you know, that stands up alongside, I would say, if not all, the vast majority of the countries of the world.
Yeah, definitely. But it's interesting that for all that this is the best England team, in inverted commas, lots of inverted commas, there's still some way adrift of the other 3 semi-finalists who are 1, 2 and 3 above them. Argentina are currently 2. They might not be depending on what happens in the game tomorrow night. So they might be down to third by the time we play them, and they were first coming into the tournament. So that probably tells its own story as well, that the performances and results, or the results of this Argentinian team haven't really been that impressive, and that their rating is very slightly on the slide, but maybe just gives an indication of the level of job that England are going to have to do.
Okay, so this is an unanswerable question that I'm going to ask you, Stuart. Your Euro 96 side, if they played in an AI, hypothetical, we've been talking about this, haven't we? AI, hypothetical games. If the Euro 96 England side played the current England side, what do you think would happen?
The one thing I revere about the England side now that probably we didn't have back then is the ability to keep the ball and play out from the back, and a bit more game understanding, I think, that they've got nowadays. I think they've got that in abundance now, and we've got that from a decade of playing out from the academies and all of those types of things. I think that is the key card that we've got at the moment. We can wrestle the ball off the opposition no matter how things are going and keep possession of the ball. Certainly going back to my era, I think we handed possession away too easily, which built up more and more pressure in many ways. I think, if I'm being honest with you, I would say, looking back at that team of Euro 96, the mental strength in that team was evident, but I saw that from this team in Mexico as well, you know, a level of that. So, well,
I don't know, the individuals, just another brief one on this. If you go back to the Italia 90 side, for example, or the squad, the wingers that you had in that squad, I compare them to the wingers in this squad, and there is no comparison. The ones from 90 are way better, aren't they? When you look at the individuals and how good they were, that, you know, somebody like Chris Waddle, who's just incredible, John Barnes, you know, these wingers were better than what we've got now, weren't they?
Well, it's difficult to tell, really. You look, you know, Chris Waddle went abroad and played his football in Marseille and whatever, and done that. Gordon's just been signed by Barcelona, so it's really difficult to compare like for like, you know. Some people say, well, John didn't deliver of his best playing for his country as he did for Liverpool. Playing for Liverpool, he won the Premier League on his own, or First Division on his own, whatever it was then. He was an incredible player, you know. So really difficult to tell, and I think the players nowadays have been so roundly coached, and their game understanding's that much better. We're on a par with the rest of the world in regard to gamesmanship a little bit as well now, where I don't think we were in my day. It was, you know, sledgehammer to crack a nut to emphasise the point, you know.
So what you're saying is that if it was your set of players with modern coaching, that would be the perfect hybrid, would it?
100%. That would probably sums it up, to have that set of coaching, that set of game understanding, that set of probably technical know-how about setting teams up. All of those things, if we had the modern day sports science as well for a part into that as well, potentially.
It's fascinating. There is a question going around at the moment. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point while we're out here for the World Cup. John Stones, 2 Euro finals, 2 World Cup semi-finals. Is he the best England centre-back since Bobby Moore? That's one of the questions that's being asked, and there's no real answer to it. You'll have your own opinions on it, I'm sure. You're listening to Kick-Off on talkSPORT. We're at the home of the Atlanta Braves during the All-Star break. They haven't got a game till Friday. We're going to be discussing the other semi-final in Dallas. That's tomorrow, Spain against France.
after a game, positivity, and you throw that negative comment about what a manager says, but you haven't told Bellingham everything positive that the manager said.
Sorry, just being on the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
So you're a player, you've come off the pitch and maybe had negativity after a win, but that is his job.
Yeah.
That's him. That's the guy, the fella doing his job, Adrian Clark.
Well, is that a problem in the media then?
But it's not. It's just your manager's just said this. What do you make about that, Jude?
Yeah, but I still think like that might be his job. But then like when people moan, and there's been a lot of moaning on social media by a lot of the public, we've just got through to a semi-final. We should be positive, and people are creating a beef between our best player.
No.
Manager.
Tuchel created the beef.
No,
he put it out there first.
But Tuchel's not called out any player. He said what he thought about the game, which was honest. No problem. I totally agree with what he says. We can be a lot better. But when a player finishes a game, he's exhausted. He's done 110 minutes in that heat. He's shattered. He's carried his team through. He scored 2 goals. The last thing he wants to hear for the first question is, the manager said that's not good enough. Why do you say, like, okay, Jude Bellingham, what was that feeling like? Look at the fans behind you. How positive? Why can't we be positive in the media?
Because you can see that. You can quite clearly see there's a lot of positivity around you, Gabby.
What do you mean? Yeah, but that's the first question you want to ask your man. You don't want to be asked a negative question when you're
trying
shattered.
to win the World Cup.
Exactly.
Not just get to a semi-final.
No one said you're not trying
You've got through the quarterfinals. It wasn't your best performance.
Yeah.
It's nothing to get really overly excited about.
I think it is. I think it 100% is, because this World Cup, France are the only team that have been outstanding. Argentina, like I said, have got through every round being poor. Then after the game, being in their media, we got to do. That's a conversation for another day. I just think we look for problems. There shouldn't be any problem. Shouldn't be any big talk today about, there's beef. They don't get on. When I watch him on the pitch, he looks like he's listening to his manager. I don't see a beef there.
Brought out of the air, here's Kylian Mbappe! Oh yes! Oh yes! Oh yes! Never doubt the quality of Kylian Mbappe!
Is this close to best player in the world, who is defined completely by the World Cup? Every tournament has been his.
Level with Lionel Messi, 8 goals for this World Cup.
We have enough quality, to adapt ourselves, and we can make individual, miracles as well with the ball.
Now it's square to Pau Kabasi. He strikes it low. Lampard's just lost it, and it's hammered in. It's Mikel Merino.
Spain, if they continue playing the way that they play, it will be always a candidate.
They have had injuries that would finish a lot of good teams, and yet they still have a level of control, and they still get it done in the end.
Dembele charging on and finding the net.
Probably even more than 98, more than the 86 team. I think this team has the highest ceiling.
Can anybody at this World Cup stop France?
Well, we'll wait and see. Tomorrow night in Dallas, it's France-Spain, the first semi-final live on talkSPORT. Someone who won multiple trophies with Spain. He was in that great team 15 odd years ago, Xabi Alonso, speaking to the media earlier for the first time since becoming the manager of Chelsea. He thinks history could be repeating itself for the Spanish.
Actually, seeing all the Spanish games, it brings me a lot of memories from our the time that the World Cup that we won, because of the team, because of the energy that they transmit, because of the control they have on the games. So we have many reasons to be optimistic. For sure, whatever will happen with France, it's gonna be a fantastic game to watch. So really looking forward to it.
There you go, the winner with Spain, Xabi Alonso, the new Chelsea manager. Let's speak to Dermot Corrigan, football writer for The Athletic. Dermot, it's interesting he was talking there, Xabi Alonso, about the control that Spain have. I think some people might interpret that as Spain being a little bit boring. They don't score many goals, but they do control games to the point where they've got this far in the tournament. With France, it's about being explosive. So it's kind of a contrast tomorrow night in Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Adrian. Hey, guys. I think, yeah, that's Spain's chance in the game, is to slow it down, to control the game, to make it a little bit more boring, if you want to say it that way. But if they can keep the ball away from Mbappe and Dembele and Olise, then that's their chance to win it. And they're pretty confident that they can do that, even after the Belgium game.
We're just going to try and get you on a better line there, Dermot. You're just breaking up there. I do wonder, Stuart, about the control that Spain have and whether France can just explode through that.
It's a strange one. Before the tournament, people asked me who I thought might be the teams to beat, and I said France and Spain. And once I've got into the World Cup, I've sort of overlooked Spain. For some reason, they seem to have gone under the radar. Out of the 4 semi-finalists, they're the ones I fancy the least, and I don't know why that is, whether it's just their form or there's just something about what they're doing at the moment that I've switched off from, and I don't know why.
Isn't it that they've been boring? Isn't that the reality? I'm not doing them down. They've got this far by being boring, but they haven't caught the eye.
Well, maybe it's a section of that. I really don't know what it is, but it'll be a major surprise to me, if they knock the French over, and if they end up bringing a trophy home, you think, wow, where did that come from? And I shouldn't really think that, because they're one of the seeded sides.
Do you think, to a certain extent, everybody's opinion of Spain is framed by that 0-0 draw that they had with Cape Verde?
Opening game, yeah.
Yeah, there could be an option in that, and the fact maybe in the goal-scoring echelons you've not got a Spanish player that's got 8, 9, whatever it is, 7, you know, so...
Dermot Corrigan is back with us. Sorry about that, Dermot. We've got you back, and I just wonder, the clash of styles, France being explosive and Spain being, or wanting control of the game. So how do you read that the game will go tomorrow?
Yeah, that's what Spain hope. Spain hope the game goes. The way that Spain hope the game goes is that they can control the ball, that they can pass it around, that Rodri and Fabian, Pedri, if he plays, Dani Olmo, these guys can slow the game down, maybe can hold the ball for long spells, keep it away from Mbappe and the rest of the Spain attackers, and then pick their moment to score. If it turns into a ding-dong battle and, you know, it's our forwards against your forwards, then France are going to win it completely. But Spain are pretty confident they can do that. They beat France in the Euros 2 years ago, beat them in a ding-dong battle in the Nations League, which is maybe not quite as important 12 months ago. But there's a lot of confidence in the Spain team that, just like Xabi Alonso was saying there earlier on, that they see similarities to the team in 2010. It doesn't have, maybe Xavi and Iniesta doesn't have quite the big names of that, and Alonso himself, of that team from 2010. But there's confidence in Spain.
I mean, those 2 games between Spain and France were stunning. If you look back at the Euros a couple of years ago, Spain coming from behind to win by 2 goals to 1. If you look at that one in isolation, rather than the 5-4 that has followed it in the Nations League, I think most people would think that France were better now than they were 2 years ago. Are Spain better than they were? How does this Spain side compare with the one that won the Euros?
Well, what I would say to that is that Lamine Yamal has to suddenly get to his very best if Spain are to compete in an open game against France. And France, as much as Spain will try and control it, it feels to me like France will try to have it as an open game, because they know, as Dermot was saying, that their forwards can outscore Spain. But Lamine Yamal came into this tournament, Stuart, with an injury. He hasn't hit the heights, and somehow he's got to find it within himself and find that fitness to hit the heights, I think, if Spain are going to have a chance.
Well, he's such a key player to them, you know, and he's one of these players that coming into the tournament, you were hoping that he would have the tournament to grab the headlines like probably Bellingham has, and Kane and the like, you know, that are firing the other 3 teams, and Messi and the goals that he's got. But he's always going to be a threat, and you never know, the more games he's playing, the fitter and stronger he's getting.
Kylian Mbappe is fit, we know that. He has been training. All 26 players for France have been training. That's live on talkSPORT tomorrow. France against Spain in Dallas, the first of the 2 semi-finals. Then it's Argentina against England here in Atlanta on Wednesday. And for those fans in Atlanta who aren't able To get a ticket to the game, you can come here to the home of the Atlanta Braves, to the Battery next door to the stadium. There will be a big party. They'll be showing the game on the big screen as well. All fans are welcome.
Gabriel put it to him, the fans are loving it, you guys are in the semi-final.
But he talked about the manager specifically, and we're criticising or observing or opining on what Jude Bellingham's response to his manager, not what the fans say.
Was Tuchel unhappy with the performance?
Yeah, so he should be.
Yeah, that's what Gabriel put to Jude.
But he also talked...
That's a fair question to put to Jude,
why didn't he put the balance?
But is that not a fair question to put to Bellingham?
At the same time as putting balance in the conversation. If you're trying
we'll agree to disagree
it's
on that.
Dishonest. It's absolutely fundamentally
What's dishonest about it?
Because you're not presenting the full picture. You are taking what the manager's worst
Tuchel
things...
said his bit, and Jude said his bit.
But that is why I qualify things by sitting with you and peers, and I'm delighted to say that whilst I'm in the media, I'm not a creation of it. I didn't build my career around the media.
All that again.
Well, it's true.
That again.
It's true.
I've never heard anything like that.
No, because you wouldn't, because you're a journalist. Your entire life has been journalism. What you do is you look at it and go,
Morgan
how can we get...
through about that as well? No, we don't.
but
And that's where you're wrong. No one in the media, when you get to the level of Gabriel Clark, you're not in a mix zone, or you're not in a post-match situation going, oh, I've got him, I've got him. You do not get it.
I watch you guys.
You do not get it.
I watch you do it. I watch you do it. I watch peers do it. I watch you all do it. I've been on the receiving end.
You think this is a gotcha moment?
Yeah, you guys love it.
How can you be?
You guys can't get more excited.
And have you never done a gotcha moment?
No, I have a strong... Well, like what?
In your various media...
No, when I have a robust conversation with somebody about opinions on something,
even though,
I don't try and trip them up.
You're in the media or part of it, or not part of it, or when you're in or out.
No, I try to make them accountable, give them a rounded perspective. So if I confront somebody with an argument, it's rounded so they can deal with all aspects of it. Because I want to win the argument on facts, on merit,
so really,
not by creating...
There's nobody else like you.
I don't think so, yeah. Absolutely right.
Love it.
Anybody else under Premier League Football Club?
Love it.
No.
No, that's true. And I'll give you that.
There you go.
And that is true, Simon. And
Anyone
I will
else
say
about
this.
17 businesses?
You are
Anyone else that made
absolutely
100
right.
quid?
When it
No,
comes
I can go on.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
Okay, massive prize on offer to either Stuart Pearce or Jim Proudfoot. Do they recognise that voice?
That's Denzel Washington, isn't it?
No.
No?
It isn't, no.
Morgan Freeman?
No.
No! No.
You're struggling. That is the voice of the fine actor, the late actor James Earl Jones, who played Darth Vader. He's the voice of Darth Vader as well. There you go. But he was in the classic Field of Dreams, which I watched on the plane here from Miami. Cried my eyes out.
In a Darth Vader outfit.
I was in a Darth Vader outfit. That's why the plane was delayed. But and that speech is about how baseball is embedded deep in the soul of the people of America. And actually, just going to baseball with you guys and just witness it, I can understand that. And what he was saying there was right. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what's going on in the country. You go down to the baseball game, go down to the ballpark, and actually everything's good again. And that's exactly right, isn't it? Is that what you felt?
I've loved the environment, let alone the games. I've loved the environment. You walk in, there's a family feel to it. It's brilliant. And I got emotionally involved at Fenway Park. There wasn't a ball game on that night, but in Boston Red Sox is ground, and we walked in there, and just looking round, it just stunk of history, you know what I mean? It was just an incredible place.
It's an escapism. American sport, not American football necessarily, because that doesn't fit the same rules with the lengthy seasons, and they're so game heavy. But in baseball, you play 162 games in the regular season, and the old adage is, and it's broadly accurate, every team's going to win 50 and lose 50. It's just what happens in the other 62, really, that matter. So you don't get too beaten up by a defeat, because you know it is absolutely bound to happen. I think even the best teams on record probably lost high 30s, something like that. So it is a very different feel to our football back home, where a defeat can be the end of the world. It really can be the mortal wound in any campaign. It isn't here, and so I think that gives it a different feel. It's a very family orientated experience watching this, or hockey or basketball. They are very different sports to what we're used to back home.
Yeah, it's very positive. I have to say, it is a great film. It's one of my favourite films, Field of Dreams. Basically, a farmer who ploughs his field, builds a ballpark in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, and it's all that happens after that. Burt Lancaster's in it. Absolutely sensational. I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
I've got to see this film. I've not seen it. I'm going to watch it on the way home if I can.
Fenway Park features in it. They go to a game at Fenway Park.
And they've recreated the stadium and have played, is it last season or the season before, I should know, but they have played an MLB match in, effectively, this artificial stadium built in the middle of a field.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. You can visit it as a tourist attraction. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, yeah, that's enough Field of Dreams, but it's not enough baseball, because we can head to Dallas, because Joe Shannon is commentating on France-Spain for talkSPORT tomorrow. He's in Dallas. We'll talk about France-Spain in a second, but you, Joe, have also had baseball experiences at this World Cup.
Good afternoon, guys. Yes, absolutely. I've been to 3 different games. I've been to see the Florida Marlins, the Philadelphia Phillies, and just the other night we went to see the Texas Rangers get absolutely hammered at home by the Houston Astros in what is something of a local derby, as local a derby as you can get in a state as big as Texas anyway. But I'm really glad that Stuart loved Fenway Park so much. I'm a big Red Sox fan. It's a very special place. That stadium is the Highbury of baseball stadiums. It is full of history, full of beauty, full of enthusiastic supporters. Wonderful place to see a sporting event. Wonderful place to see baseball. So I'm so glad that Stuart Pearce, of all people, found it such a fascinating and enjoyable place to be at.
Yeah, it is brilliant. I've done a tour of it as well. It's absolutely magnificent. And by the way, your situation right now, stadium right behind you, absolutely magnificent as well. You were at France training earlier as well.
Yes, absolutely. All 26 players trained, so that includes Kylian Mbappe, who took a knock, of course, against Morocco. He had an ice pack on at the end of that game. Absolutely fine. He looks in really good spirits, raring to go in the race for the Golden Boot as well. And it's worth saying Aurélien Tchouameni and Marcus Thuram, who've missed matches for France over the course of this tournament, both out there as well. So this France squad, so talked about with its strength in depth, is ready to go ahead of what is the biggest game of the tournament so far, after England-Argentina, of course.
Joe, do you see any surprises in this? Because I'm seeing France as strong-ish favourites. I wouldn't say cast-iron favourites, but pretty strong. And Spain, I don't know, I was buoyed up with them pre-tournament, and since then I've sort of gone a little bit cool on them.
I think, Stu, France have been my tip from the very start of the tournament. I think you can look no further than the front four that they've got. They can cause any team in the world all sorts of difficulty. They've got a very strong midfield too, whether it is Tchouaméni who comes back in alongside Rabiot, whether it's Kone and Rabiot, they look very solid in the middle of the park. The back four has been pretty solid, I would say, as well. It's going to be Koundé, Saliba, Upamecano and most probably Luca Digne. Upamecano has maybe got a mistake in him, but I am nitpicking. I am looking into the real details of this French side. We've seen them 4 or 5 times over the course of this tournament. They have been outstanding from minute one. I think when you look at the Spaniards, they need Yamal to have the game of the tournament so far. They need him to really be fit and firing. That said, Fabian Ruiz and Mikel Merino have contributed goals. Oyarzabal 4 from 6 over the course of the tournament. And it's a back four and goalkeeper that have only conceded once over the course of this tournament so far. So they're not entirely reliant on Lamine Yamal. But if they're going to compete with Mbappe, Elise, Barcola, Doué, Dembele, the list goes on, Spain are going to need their front players to really turn it on as well.
Joe, you kind of prejudged my question to you about the French. I know that you and Mark have seen a lot of them. What's keeping Didier Deschamps awake at night? Where are the real worries? Is it merely some of the personnel in his back line capable of having an off day? Is there anything else that you've identified between you that you think that Spain might be able to exploit?
Well, it's interesting, Jim, because prior to the last couple of matches, we would have looked at the left-back position and said, well, he's not sure whether it's Luca Digne, he's not sure whether it's Teo Hernandez. Digne was fantastic against Morocco, didn't put a foot wrong, so that kind of rules that position out. I think Kone had a poor game against Paraguay. He looked a little tempestuous, he looked a little careless in possession. Again, if Tchouaméni comes back in, then they're rock solid in terms of the midfield too. I think the man that Mark and I pinpointed as maybe the weak link in the team, and it's a relative weak link because you have to pay your respect to Upamecano. He's played in a Champions League semi-final this season. He's a key part of the Bayern team that absolutely stormed the Bundesliga once again. If you're looking for a player maybe with a mistake in him, maybe with a miscued clearance, not great at playing out from the back, then perhaps you'd say Upamecano. But I think this sort of stuff is hardly keeping Deschamps awake at night. I think what might be keeping Deschamps awake at night is deciding which of the two to go for, maybe between Doué and Barcola in support of that front three, who I think have pretty much got their names established already. We're certain that Dembele will play, we're certain that Michael Elise will play, we're certain that Kylian Mbappe will play. Maybe the only question is who takes up that spot on the left wing. But I tell you what, guys, it is not a bad dilemma to have, that is for sure.
I'm intrigued by your assessment of the France midfield too, because I'm not so convinced. But listen, you've watched them live more than I have. So I look at Spain's midfield and compare the French midfield to England's midfield. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, are France really that strong with that midfield too, Rabiot and Tchouaméni?
Well, it's interesting, Abe, because I think if we have everybody fit, and that's assuming that France make it through and that England do beat Argentina, but if we've got everybody fit, if Declan Rice is fit and firing, then I think that is an area where England can get at this French team. Now, look, they've been pretty solid throughout most of the tournament, but as I say, if they're lacking Tchouaméni, I think Kone is somebody that you can get at potentially. I think he has got a mistake in him. We saw against Paraguay, he was wound up by the Paraguay midfield. He was a little bit careless in possession, gave the ball away, committed a couple of sloppy fouls. He's not a player with a great deal of major tournament experience either, Manu Kone. So that might be an area where England can get the better of France. The difficulty, as we all know, is going to be keeping that front four at bay. That is the task for any team at this World Cup. I suppose if any team can do it, it could be Spain. Only conceded once at the World Cup so far. Got an amazing record defensively. A great goalkeeper behind them as well in Unai Simon. So perhaps if anybody can get at this, can keep this France back line out, it is this Spain defensive line. But we'll see. It's going to be very tough. Mbappe is going for the Golden Boot. He's going for the all-time record of scoring at the World Cup. He's only one behind Lionel Messi, and it is a supporting cast to die for behind him.
I was going to ask you about Unai Simon, and arguably the goalkeeper of the tournament, and then you look back at pre-tournament and all the Arsenal fans are wondering how on earth David Raya's not going to be the Spain #1. Well, they've now found out why.
Absolutely. I think De La Fuente has called him an historic goalkeeper. He said in November that his status as #1 was really no longer up for debate. And that really says something when, as you say, there's a goalkeeper of David Raya's quality having to sit on the bench as #2, and Joan Garcia, who's only played 2 matches for Spain, having to sit there as #3. No major tournament experience whatsoever for Garcia. It's quite remarkable, the strength in depth, enviable the strength in depth that Spain have got in this position. When you consider that David Raya has got to be one of the best in Europe, what does that make Unai Simon? One of the best in the world, maybe. Certainly that's the perspective of De La Fuente and co. They were never going to change Simon coming into this tournament, and actually, I think he's proved them right.
Talk to me about the stadium. It's one of our favourites. What do you think of it? And actually, what is your favourite stadium and least favourite stadium of the tournament?
That is an easy question to answer in terms of favourite stadium. Has to be the Azteca. You guys know how iconic that place is. So full of history, atmosphere remarkable. As a commentator, it was a bit of a bucket list. It was a bit of a pipe dream to be able to broadcast from there. The fact that we got to be able to do it, the fact that we had an atmosphere like we did for our game there, Mexico 2, Ecuador 0, makes it a very, very special place. I'll never forget that place. I'll also never forget the Atlanta Stadium, because the circumstances of the game that we were watching, Argentina 3, Egypt 2, that header from Enzo Fernandez, we were right behind it. I will never forget that header. Cannot wait to go inside and see what the Dallas Stadium is like at the moment. We've only seen it from the outside so far, Raid. Cannot wait to see it. In terms of least favourite stadiums, I mean, they've all had their benefits, but a couple of them have not really felt like football stadiums. You think maybe of the Boston Stadium. It's very high up. You're a long way from the edge of the pitch as a commentator. But look, I'm nitpicking. Everybody at these stadiums has been very, very helpful. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be out here, so I'm not complaining.
We know, Joe. Listen, have a good one tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Joe Shannon in Dallas ahead of the first semi-final. I think we'd agree with Boston being least. And listen, it's not kind of being horrible about it. It's just you've got your favourite stadiums. Some people will think it's great, some people won't. I think it is definitely. It's probably just above New York as my least favourite.
Yeah. I'm not in the Foxborough fan club either, I must admit.
It's not even in Boston, is it?
It was great to go, and it was fantastic to see it, and it was also fantastic to walk away from there knowing that was the only time we were going in this tournament. The stadia have been great, and what we're doing and having this conversation is you're ranking the venues that we're going to. We're not saying that any of them are bad, any of them are anything less than wonderful, but that, I think, will be the least favourite for a lot of people, Foxborough. And it didn't help that the game we saw there was the only unspectacular game that we've seen in this tournament so far, which is England-Ghana. Yeah,
that wasn't great, was it? Stu, your favourite, least favourite?
I really enjoyed Dallas, I've got to say. Azteca was good. I enjoyed Dallas. They were probably the two standout ones. Foxborough, once again, probably further down the food chain, you know?
Yeah, I think people didn't realise just how far out of Boston it was. I think that's one of the big problems with it. Same with the venue for the final. It isn't actually in New York. It should just be called the New Jersey Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got a view of New York, but then so is the moon.
Nicely
Only
put.
we sent someone to the moon to look back and see whether they can see it.
Hold on.
But that never happened, did it, Jim?
I'm glad I've won you round.
We've gone back to Cape Canaveral, have we? It's extraordinary. I think FIFA are investigating whether one of the tournaments could be on the moon, or maybe shared between the moon, Mars.
Well, maybe the first game there and then bring it back to Earth.
Possibly. It's taking a surreal twist. The sunshine is happening here in Atlanta. We're at the home of the Braves, and check out the Atlanta Braves baseball team at braves.com.
get into this weird situation where they forget what happened before. So all the big games, they played Havertz, right? Gyökeres, who you bought in at the start of the season, was going to be, for all the big games. In all the big games, he was on the bench. Yeah. Facts. That's what happened. So the manager doesn't trust him. That's not our opinion. That's just objectively looking at it. Havertz gets injured quite a lot, unfortunately. Gary Jesus is not the same since he's come back from his injury. So if you're now telling me that you can get through this season again and everybody else is going to be as poor as they were last year, I think you're just forgetting the fact that you lot were all losing your marbles around the Man City loss. And it was, we need a proper striker. Arteta don't know what he's doing again. You win the league, it's great, we're going to win it.
Yeah, but you know what I've always said to, I've always said to you, I always said to him, though, Gyökeres wasn't bought in for the big games, didn't I? I said that to you. We bought Gyökeres in for the game.
I get
listen,
explain.
I want to hear the year before, Arsenal, it weren't the record against Man City's, the Liverpool, it weren't that cost us the league. It was we couldn't beat Fulham, couldn't beat West Ham, couldn't beat them lesser clubs. Gyökeres coming. I mean, he said it. Right, it's one of them. Gyökeres this season, though. Gyökeres this season scored against the Fulhams, the West Ham, so we didn't have a problem getting past those teams, which is why then we went on to win the league.
Okay, I think you won the league because you played very pragmatic football. I'm not actually allowed to say the type of football that people are calling it on air, but you played a certain type of football.
Would you play that type of football to win the league?
No.
What?
What are you talking? Of course you would.
Honestly.
If I was a footballer.
No, it's just like...
my team.
Yeah.
No, I'll be happy like you lot. I'll be exactly... You get me? I'll be happy. Of course I will.
But would you like to see Spurs play that way to win?
Brendan Johnson scored with like his knee or something and we won the trophy. I'm happy. I don't care, bro. However it gets done, I'm happy. I don't really care. But what I'm saying is, you can't like gloat about it and say, we don't need a 9. That's crazy. You do need a 9, respectfully. What are you talking about, bro? If you sold Osimhen and Havertz right now, you could... sorry, Osimhen. If you bought Osimhen and sold Gyökeres and Havertz right now, you'd be great. You'd be fine. You could buy Barcola. Barcola and Osimhen changes their team, bro.
Do you know what? I'm happy with what we got.
Oh, you're a liar. That's a lie. You're a liar. That is a lie.
I'm happy with
that. Is a
It's 10 to 10 back home in the UK. Coming up, it's the Sports Bar, and you can get your calls in 03717 223344. 10 to 5 here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're at the home of the Atlanta Braves. We're at the ballpark for the first time ever. talkSPORT broadcasting a show live from a Major League Baseball stadium, and they've been very hospitable as well. Braves.com if you want to check them out. They're top of the table, no less. Let's talk a bit more about England-Argentina on Wednesday here in Atlanta. They haven't played each other for over 20 years. This will be Messi's first ever game against England, if selected. Stuart Pearce, we know the history between the two countries on and off the field. How might that impact England's players on Wednesday?
Well, it's a World Cup and it's a semi-final, so there'll be an intensity to the game anyway, let alone the rivalry. A lot of the players of an age probably don't see the rivalry. Some of them not been born, Jim, since the last time we played each other. I've had a concern for a couple of weeks that we don't get caught up in issues with Romero or McAllister or the like, or on the other side of that, the flip side of that, Aid, is respect Messi too much. We've got to respect his football, but I don't think we can go in and respect him as a world-class superstar, not when you're on the same field as him. He's just another player that you've got to treat in that manner. A threat, 100% a threat. But don't... I think I've seen referees and I've seen players on the pitch almost respect him too much. You can't do that. He's standing between us and a major final.
So this is a fixture like few others. How different is it, bearing in mind that none of these players have ever played in one before? Because when you had that run of games, 98, 2002, where David Beckham had personal retribution to gain, and so did many of his teammates. In 2005, there were a lot of the same guys involved again. None of these have ever played against Argentina before, and vice versa, of course. How different does it make it?
Well, it's different, but the one thing that's a constant, Jim, they're wearing the same shirts. And when you're wearing your shirts, your national shirt, you know that you're representing the history that's gone before you, and you're also attempting to create your own history in that shirt. You know, you're almost a custodian of the shirt. Yes, your pride of your achievements when you step out, but in some ways you're creating history for your country and all those people that are back home that will be driving you on.
Talk about players respecting Messi too much, and referees as well. Some of the fouls he's got, some of the free kicks he's got have been absolutely absurd at this World Cup. We will need a strong referee.
100% we will. I without a doubt, that's got to be paramount. A referee that's not too fussy either, by the way, because the start of the game might, if both teams want to accelerate their style of play onto the game, the referee can't be too fussy from the offset, because the game just will not get going at that stage. So it's paramount we have a good referee that plays. We talk about the two sets of players playing with a calm head. The referee is the one going into this that's probably, bizarrely, under more pressure than both sets of players.
How much does an England red card worry you?
I've been saying it for a couple of weeks. It worries me intensely. I think all things being equal, and England keeping 11 players on the pitch from start to finish, I'll take my chances that we get the desired result.
So that's clearly a conversation that the staff will have with the players. They will have identified the same risk, but how easy is it to be able to actually live out those instructions on the field when you're told, look, be careful, this is what they might try and entice you into? Is it easy to make sure that the red mist stays effectively parked?
Yeah, it's not actually even the red mist, Jim. It's just being caught up in something and being very clinical with some of your challenges, making out stuff, the challenges that on occasion you would make in the Premier League, you don't make when you're under pressure. I mean, I went into a World Cup semi-final with the booking in the quarterfinals, and all of a sudden you're very, very carefully in the challenge, because you know one more yellow and I would have been suspended for the final had we got there. And we saw the reaction Gascoigne had against Germany in '90. You know, he was in floods of tears on a football pitch while the game's going on. So it's critical that side of the game is adhered to, and I wouldn't like to see us sort of lose our cool in any way, shape or form, lose a player, and that be like the Swiss now. The Swiss have lost a player because I don't know what he was thinking of, trying to buy a foul. Just ridiculous. The biggest dive I've seen. He's got sent off. He's in tears as he goes off. He's crestfallen. And you knew the repercussions of that. Your team are going out of the World Cup. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Well, you got me a little bit nervous for it, excited for it. Wednesday night here in Atlanta, it will be England, Argentina. We will be at the game for you on talkSPORT. It's France-Spain tomorrow night, live from Dallas. Just want to say thanks to the guys and to the Atlanta Braves. How good have they been having us here?
So good. Welcoming on game day, and also today to facilitate this. Whoever's idea this was to get this show from this stadium is an absolute visionary, but thank you for the Braves for hosting us, Jim.
Yeah, if only there was some way of working out who that might have been.
We've got no idea, you know. Well, we'll find out. Probably Deck or Lavs, one of the gang behind the scenes. They don't like to take the credit, the boys.
It's one of the few good ideas Stuart Pearce has had on this trip. But thank you very much, all, and thanks for checking us out on the talkSPORT YouTube channel as well. Sports Bar is next on talkSPORT.
Go to Ben. He's Arsenal fan. All right, Ben.
Benny boy.
How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, Ben. We've got to do this quarter-final 11. Let's get it going. Come on.